how's it going? God, it's been a while since I've seen you guys. I miss y'all. So I I went out of town to Chicago, and then I decided to get my flooring done. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do a catch-up stream on Wednesday. Yeah, that didn't happen. There's too much chaos and so many things going on. And then also, Shiro hurt himself, so we took him to the vet. But he's fine now. He's limping. But he's okay now, actually. He's good. I don't know. I think it's the medication, so he thinks he's like a lot more active than he really should be. He should not be. But yeah, we've had a lot going on. I know this week I missed, we're catching up with the Karen Reed trial. I know Brian Higgins, he testified last week. We'll watch that. There was a half day on Tuesday. Not quite sure what happened then because I'm not really caught up with everything that's going on. I haven't seen anything. I've been trying to stay away from everything because I want to watch it with y'all. And then also, this week ended up being a lot busier than I thought. I was okay. It's just be really quiet. It's only a half day for Karen Reed stuff, holiday. It's all good. But then I was like, oh, I missed the Koberger hearing. Oh no. And then not only that, there was Chad Daybell, his verdict. So we kind of missed a lot. And I'm so sorry, guys. My bad. Hi, Jenny. How are you doing today? How's it going? Jenny, can you hear me? I'm hoping my microphone works. So I was like, not a great week to take off-ish. And then, I really was planning on streaming in the middle of the week, but it was just a little bit hectic over here. But I hope you guys are doing well. Hello, hello. Hi, Jenny. Thank you so much for the reset for 72 months. Wait, hold on. I didn't hear that. No. Why is it not working? Oh, I didn't have my overlays on. Jenny, thank you so much for 72 months on the Twitch. I hope you're doing well. And hello, hello. Oh, boy. All right, y'all. It's been a while. Jesus. But you know what? I'm back, and I'm so excited to see you guys. I hope you guys have been doing well. My head itches. And I have a birthday party to go to because initially I thought it was on Sunday, but they gave me the wrong date, and it's actually today. I was like, oh, crap. It's going to be like an 8-hour stream, but we're going to have to see what we can do for today. And then I'm hoping to probably stream tomorrow as well if I don't have errands to run and stuff like that. I don't know. We'll see. We'll have everything sorted out. So thanks for joining us. We're going to watch Brian Higgins' testimony. And Brian Higgins is also another Brian in the Karen Reed trial. We've had 2 other Brians who testified so far. We've had Brian Albert, and then we had Brian Albert Jr., and now we have Brian Higgins. Brian Higgins apparently works for ATF, which is like firearms. What does it stand for? What is auto, firearms, tobacco, something like that. I screwed it up, I know. But yeah, let's hear from them because apparently it seems like what the defense is trying to say is that maybe Brian Higgins had a thing for Karen Reed, and maybe that's why he might have some sort of animosity towards John O'Keefe. Maybe that's why things may have went down the way the defense wants it to go down or said it went down. Hi, Taxi. How are you doing today? So I want to hear from his testimony. And again, I haven't heard anything at all. I know there are text messages, but that's about it. So I'm excited to watch with y'all. And I hope you guys are having a wonderful and lovely Saturday. Hello, hello. All right. I'm just going to hop right into it because I can't be here for too long.
I believe it was the 27th.
Wait, where am I? I was like, I thought we were at the beginning. My bad.
Did anyone happen to see here?
My bad, y'all. All right, direct examination with Mr. Lally. Where you at, Mr. Lally?
Yes, I.
I mean, no surprise there for Chad, Guilty. No surprise. Hi, Morden. The Chad Daybell has been wild.
Ready, Mr. Lally.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Could you please state your name and spell your last name for the jury?
My name is Brian Higgins, Higgins.
And where do you live, sir?
Barnstable County, Massachusetts.
And how long have you lived
Hi,
there?
Lori.
I've owned that property since approximately 2018.
And do you work, sir?
I do.
What do you do for work?
I'm a special agent with the United States Department of Justice, Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives.
Oh, alcohol. Oh, A is alcohol. Did I say auto earlier? Whoopsies.
And how long have you been doing that?
Just over
Hi,
15
Morgan.
years.
Now, so prior to that, prior to your appointment with the ATF, what, if any, other positions?
We can go through this, right? We don't need to know all of this. Hi, Storm. How's it going? And please, yes, we have subtitles. All right. January.
On or about January 5th.
And when you sold that property, did you move down to Barnstable County, or did you live somewhere else as well?
For a period of time, I rented an in-law apartment in West Roxbury.
Okay, so talking about background stuff, attention, 28th. Okay.
A day or so before that. Specifically the 28th. On the 28th, where were you on that day initially?
New York City.
And why were you in New York City, sir?
I was in New York City for the funeral services of Officer Mora and Rivera, who killed in the line of duty.
Oh, two
And
officers.
fair to say there was a large contingent of law enforcement there,
Yes.
including several people from Massachusetts.
Yes.
And when did you go down to New York City?
I believe it was the 27th of February. It might have been Thursday.
So was there a wake and a funeral?
There was a wake in the funeral. Some people went to the wake, some people went to the funeral. There was services in over those couple of days.
And you went to the funeral on the 28th, is that correct?
Yes.
And at some point,
What was the difference between a wake and a funeral again? Is funeral where they, like, if they want to bury the body? Is that the funeral part? I don't know. What's the difference? I'm just going to ask you guys that.
do you make your way from New York
Really,
City
Lori?
back towards Massachusetts on the 28th?
Yes.
And do you recall about what time of day that was?
Late morning, possibly.
And why is it that you were coming back on the 28th specifically?
The anticipation of a blizzard.
And how did you, you drove, is that correct?
I drove my government vehicle down to New York for the services.
And what kind of government vehicle was it that you drove down and back?
That was a Dodge Ram pickup.
Now, on the way back, who, if anyone, came with you for the ride back from New York City to Massachusetts?
Apparently, I think he's the one who drives the Jeep with a snowplow. But that was a car that was not taken to New York. That's the one that I think was driven to the Albert home. Hi, Fire.
Brian Elbert, Kevin Elbert, and Eddie Hernandez.
Oh, wake is more like a gathering. Gotcha.
And who were they to you, and what, if any, relationship do they have to your work in law enforcement?
Well, first and foremost, they're all friends. Kevin Elbert is a detective with the Canton Police Department. Brian Elbert was a sergeant detective with the Boston Police Department. Eddie Hernandez, also a detective with the Boston Police Department.
And how long had you known each of these individuals?
So out of the group, Eddie Hernandez would be the person that I knew the longest. I had worked with him back in the early 90s at the Mass General. Then it would probably be Brian Elbert. I may have had some contact with him when I was on the Cambridge Fire Department, assigned to the Fire Investigation Unit. And then Kevin Elbert would be probably the last in the three that I knew.
Yay, Fire. Thanks for joining us. How was Chicago? Chicago was fun, but oh my God, people there are so... We ran into, I think every day I ran into at least two people that were just rude. I don't know. I think maybe when you're living in a place that only I don't know what it is. Because in California, people are generally very really fucking chill here. But goddamn, in Chicago, it's everyone has a stick up their ass or something. I don't know. But there was really good people there too, sweet people. But there was a lot of rude ass people. Holy shit. But other than that, it was good. Food, amazing. I would say Chicago food is on par with LA food. Their food is just phenomenal, and so many different types of culture out there. We had Cuban food, really fucking good. We had this it was this Chinese restaurant, but I think they were owned by white people, but it was really fucking good. It was one of the best think about your the Chinese food where it's kind of like the Panda Express dishes. It's like that, but elevated. I don't know. It's really fucking good, and it's not like they did anything fancy or anything like that. It was just really good. And then we had, what else did we eat? We had really good, lots of good Asian food. I don't think what else did we eat? Oh God, we went to some American restaurants. We're ugh, but other than that, food was really fucking good in Chicago, and the weather was really nice. And yeah, it was awesome. The weather is beautiful over there.
Now, speaking to the Canton Police Department at that time, as far as your assignment went with work, where was it that you worked out of, or where was sort of your base of operations?
Canton PD, I had an office there.
Hi, Vince. How are you doing today? We're authentic. Well, there's difference between authentic and then being just straight up rude. So for example, when you're dealing with someone in the service industry, you don't need to really be super authentic because you're just giving them service. And for California, I can totally see the fake phony thing. I do see that, especially when you're coming here and then if you're meeting trying to meet new friends and stuff. I definitely do see that here. However, there's a difference between rudeness in the service industry and then just being kind of I don't know, a little bit more kind, I guess.
And how was it that you
the best beef? Why the best beef?
That relationship, it was through Chief Berkowitz, born through a tragedy. When my sister passed away, we became friends, and he offered up the space because I had also moved there, so it was close.
Yeah, no, regular people were fine. It was all staff people. All the staff people were it was either snarky or it was just like low key, kind of just like rude undertones. It was just like for no reason. Like for this one part, right, where we're at the courthouse and I had to go use the bathroom. And so we go up to the lady's like, oh, where's the bathroom? And I couldn't really hear her very well because she was like speaking pretty fast. And so she said something about like, oh, bathrooms are downstairs, but like escalators weren't working. I was like, oh, okay, that's fine. And so we walked away, and then I was like, oh wait, there's like elevators here. So I went to go press up the elevator, and then the elevator opened, and then I didn't go to the bottom floor. I was like, oh, okay, whatever. So I walked away, but I could see her. She like runs up at me. She's like, can I help you? And I was like, oh, I was looking for the bathroom. This is the same person I was talking to earlier. And she's like, she gives me like this nasty stare. And she's like, you have to wait until your group can go downstairs because we're all doing like the marriage thing downstairs. I'm like, oh, okay. It was like, that's it. But honestly, she didn't even have to come up to me because it's pretty obvious that when you click on the elevator, there's no downstairs. So my natural course would just be to walk away, which is what I did. I don't know why she ran up on me like that. I was like, okay, cool. Anyway, so that's one. And then the second one was, we were at this like game place, right? It was like this really cute place, like, you could play board games, stuff like that. It was like super fucking awesome. The guy working there, like a little bit, like kind of like a little bit snarkiness, but I usually can deal with that. I don't mind. But it was like kind of like unnecessary, and it was just like kind of piling up. And at some point, you're just kind of tired of it. And so there was this part where like I think we went in, and then it was like this dark room, right? And then he's like, he sees us by like the front entrance, and I was like, okay, cool. But I was like, oh, can we sit by the window? Because like it was like brighter there, and it was just like cozier. And so I was like, oh, hey, can we, like, we sit by the window? And he's like, oh, but there's no light above. And I was like, oh, I think it's okay because we had the window there. But I wasn't really thinking. I was like, oh, the sun's going to go down in like fucking 2 hours, right? And so we were sitting there. It was fine. And at some point, the sun does start going down. I was like, oh, shit, fuck. Like, that's what he meant by no lights there. Because I thought he could, like, I thought, like, he could turn on the lights. But there was a light above us. It just wasn't working, I think. Sorry, I think that's what he meant. And so I was like, oh, hey, like, you know, we asked him like, oh, hey, like, you know, is it okay if we move to the table next, like the one over? And the entire place is empty, by the way. So he comes over there and he's like, see, what did I tell you guys? There's no light above. I mean, you really wanted, I don't know, like, it was like that tone. It was like, oh, you guys really wanted to sit here, blah, 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 blah. I told you guys, da, da, da. And I was just like, okay. Is so necessary, whatever. And then also later on, as we were leaving, the digital, what's it called? The receipts are all like digital, and so we're like doing like my sister is like doing her receipt thing, whatever, and like she's like walking and leaving, and she's like doing the tipping thing, and then she's like already outside in front of the restaurant, and so I guess like the guy decides to close the check because like my sister already left the restaurant or the board game place technically, right? But she was outside doing it, and then all of a sudden, like when she's putting the tip in, she looks at it and she's like, she saw the guy put himself 23% tip. And so my sister was like, wait, I can't do the tip thing. I don't know. It says I already tipped. What the hell? But it says 23%. And so we went back inside. We are like, oh, like, you know, she's trying to do her tip thing. But then like it closed her out at 23%. Like, you know, like we don't know how this happened. He's like, oh, I don't know how it happened either. I don't know. And so like, obviously he did it. Like he closed it. Why would it just close automatically for 23%? I don't know. Just like stuff like that. I don't know. Like it was like really weird. Yeah, but you know, it's not like everywhere that we went to had rude staff. It was just like every day we ran into like rude people at like different establishments. But then there was also really cool, nice people there as well. But yeah, it was like it was like unnecessary passive aggressiveness. That was also like another one. I'm just like, okay, cool. But we did go to one place where they were super nice, but they're all like teens. They're like super cool. Italian beef sandwiches are a Chicago specialty. Really? I always thought Chicago specialty was the Chicago deep dish, and I hate deep dish, but I didn't know that about the beef. I will definitely check that out. You were at the State of Illinois building. We were at the Cook County Courthouse, which sounds like a prison. But anyways, we had an amazing time in Chicago. Just ran into some really weird kooky people. But other than that, it was all good. It was all good. Food was really great. All right, sorry guys. Let's get back to Brian Higgins. Whew. All right. Oh, Go Lucky. I don't know why my notifications aren't popping up on here. Go Lucky, thank you so much for the reset for 22 months. I appreciate it. Thank you.
It was a jumping off point.
And were you the only federal agent that had space within the Canton Police Department?
I was the only one.
Well, I'm from the East Coast too, so I definitely we live near DC, or we used to live near DC, so I totally get that. I was like, oh, maybe it's because like the weather, but I think what it is like it's kind of like a chain reaction. So like when you have someone that's kind of like rude to you or like mean to you, you kind of dole it out like to other people as well. I don't know, like, because I could start feeling myself getting a little bit like annoyed, and then like being annoyed back at people. It's like a chain reaction thing, and then it's like a never-ending chain thing. But yeah, I just live on the East Coast, so I totally get it. But oh my god, I was just like, oh my god, this is just like too much for me.
One that had an office. I believe there was an HSI agent that might have had some access there to come in, hook up his computer and stuff. And there was also an MBTA police detective, transit police detective, who also had access there. But I was really the only one that maintained a desk, so to speak.
And as far as your work or familiarity with work as far as federal law enforcement officers, is that abnormal to have access to a local PD or have an officer desk there?
Judge, allow it.
No, it's not abnormal to have space within a department that you work closely with.
Now, as far as the ride back is concerned, when you drive from New York City back to Massachusetts, about how long a drive was that?
Oh, and then also there's this restaurant we went to, which like it was like partially our fault and partially like kind of like weird. But we went to this restaurant, and because we were such a large group, we had to hit like a $30 plate, $30 per person minimum, right? And so I didn't know that. My brother, he was the one who's setting up the reservations, but he was giving a ride to my mom back to the restaurant, back to the house. So we're like, some of us were at the restaurant, and then like we get the check, and then we're like, oh, like they charge us $45. Like it was just like nothing. And we're like, oh, why is there like a $45 charge here? And they're like, oh, because there's like a minimum. You guys have to spend like $210 minimum. It's like, oh, well, I would have just spent it on food, because we actually thought we hit it because we ordered alcohol, and they're like, no, alcohol doesn't count. I'm like, oh, okay. So with the food, we were short, and they charged us $45. And I was like, oh, well, I'd rather have just ordered food instead of you just charging me $45, I don't know. I used to work in the restaurant industry, right? And I totally get it. There's a lot of things that are happening. Sometimes it's really busy. But honestly, if I was a waitress, I would just be like, hey, you guys are like, like $50 away from your food minimum. Do you guys want to order more dishes or something like that, right? Because like, why would anyone ever want to pay $45 to the air instead of just spending it on food? So that was like, what I would say that was partially our fault too, because like, I think she said that there was a minimum with my brother, but my brother wasn't there when we were doing the check stuff. And I don't know. So it's like partially our fault too. But I just thought it was really weird because I feel like you would want to be on top of it. But anyways, so when the manager came to talk to us, oh my God, her face. She was like this. And I was like, hey, so there's like a $45 charge. I was just wondering what that was. Dude, she did not. It's not like we were like, there's a $45 charge. What the fuck is this? It was just like, oh, hey, there's like, like, oh, what is this? Oh, it is? Oh, okay. Like, like I would have just ordered food instead. Yeah, crabbiness is contagious. It is contagious because I was getting really fucking crabby too. And then hold on a second. There was, oh God, hold on. God, what else? There was one that was, this was at the airport, Chicago airport. Okay, so I could have sworn that when you're boarding on the airline, you can have, maybe I did fuck up. Maybe it's only 2 personal items you can have with you, because I had a carry-on, I had a backpack, and then I had a purse. So I go up there, and the lady looks at me, and I'm like, oh, why is she looking at me like that? Instead of addressing me, she picks up the phone, makes like an announcement, blah, blah, blah. She hangs up the phone. She looks at me and she's like, you can only bring 2 things. I was like, oh, okay. And she's like, yeah, you have to put your purse in like a backpack. I'm like, oh, okay. And so I'm like, shit, my backpack is full. Let me call Dennis, because Dennis already went ahead. I'm like, oh, Dennis. And so Dennis comes back, and then she looks at me and she's like, he already has 2 bags. And I was like, no, I'm going to put my purse in his backpack. But it's like the unnecessary, like, I don't know, you just be like, oh, he already has 2 bags, right? Like, he already has 2 bags. And I was like, oh my fucking God, holy shit. And I don't know. At that point, I was already kind of like, oh God, get me out of here. Holy shit. Anyways, other than that though, there are just some people there that are just very, I would say very crabby. She looked at you like you're small. I think the thing is, like, sometimes when I deal with people that are like, if there's like some sort of like a mini confrontation, I think people generally assume that like Asians don't really like stand up for themselves. They won't talk back, blah blah blah. They can kind of like steamroll all over them. Or with the restaurant thing, I don't know, the vibe. Maybe I think I'm just overreading it maybe too much. But the vibe that I got was like, oh, you're just like cheap Asians or something, and you didn't hit your minimum. I don't know, but I was probably overthinking it. Anyways. So it was like that, and then, Oh, what else was there? Okay, fine. I shouldn't let like 4 or 3 people define my Chicago trip, right? But it was like every fucking day. I was like, oh my God, can we just like go on with the day without like dealing with like these like these like crabby people? Sorry.
So typically it'd be I'd say like a 4-hour ride depending on traffic. This was longer, and I would also factor in the fact that we stopped and ate on the way back.
And when you arrived,
Oh, hold on a second. This is like kind of like small, like no big deal. But we had a TSA. The TSA guy was like really like, I don't know. He was, I don't know. He was rude, but then there was another TSA agent who caught his rudeness. Was like, oh, it's okay. I'll take care of you guys over here. But like, it was weird. Like we're going to the TSA pre-check, right? And the guy's like, oh, here, come in. We're at the close line. Come in. We go in there. And then the guy who does like the ticket check and the ID check, he's like, no. I'm going to my break. No. And it's like, it's like, okay. So we're going, he's like, no. So we're like turning back. And the other guy's like, it's okay. Just go. And so we're like going back and forth. We're like, shit, do we fucking go or what? Like one guy's telling us to go. The other guy says he doesn't want to take us. And then so the guy at the front, he starts yelling at the guy at the gate. He starts yelling at the guy at the other part. And he's like, I'm going to my lunch break. I'm not taking anyone else. Blah, blah, blah. And then the guy's like, okay, it's okay. I'll take care of you guys. But it takes like, I don't know, like 15 seconds to check our ID. Anyways, that was interesting. Oh, the boat. Oh, God, the boat one was so funny. The boat place was funny, though, because the workers there were all teenagers, okay? That was the most hilarious thing. We had a horrible experience with the boat and the umbrella that they put in because that shit was going crazy. Animals flew away and it was like smacking us and stuff like that. But the people that worked there were like super nice, but they're like teenagers, you know? They're just there for the fucking summer job. So, yeah, the boat thing was wild, guys. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, I posted on my Instagram, so go follow my Instagram, I guess. Anyways, you have to walk with a preemptive "don't fuck with me" attitude. Oh, geez. I mean, I think my face, I do have like resting bitch face, but I generally like to be like, you know, just very chill with people. It's only when they're kind of like snarky to me, and it's like over and over and over again where I'll start being a little bit snarky back. But oh my gosh. I don't know. I was just like, whatever. Let's just keep going. My brother told me this too. My brother said, because he's from DC, and we know how East Coast people are. But my brother said when he first moved to Chicago, oh my God, he's dealt with some like crazy, insane, just like people. Like his UPS worker was, his UPS guy, delivery guy is like really mean. And then the courthouse lady who was doing the marriage license, super fucking mean. And they were telling me the story of how ridiculous she was. God, it was so funny. My brother's like, Chicago's just testing, man. He just tested me. I don't know. I'm 37 years old. Suddenly doesn't bother you when people overreact like that anymore. I think what it is that if I see people like that every day, I get used to it. But because it's been a while since I've dealt with like just like I guess to me it just seems like it's unprovoked rudeness, you know? Like I understand someone being rude if let's say if I provoke them, right? If I was being rude to them, like giving them attitude, then I get it. You're gonna be rude back to me. But like this is like unnecessary, unprovoked, and you're just like, huh? Like what the hell? So I think that's what it is. It's like if I'm not used to dealing with that every day, it kind of throws me off guard, and I'm just like, wait, what? What just happened? But anyway, sorry. I want to restate this though. Chicago people, a lot of them were like super fucking cool though. Like we had like a lot of other good like service workers there and stuff like that. So it was just like the 4 or 5 people. I'm just like, Anyways.
Back to Massachusetts. Where specifically in Massachusetts is it that you first go?
So the first place that we went was
Hi, cheesy leg. I made it to cringe.
a
Yeah.
Boston Police Department district in Charlestown, where Brian Albert and Eddie Hernandez had parked their vehicles.
Now, as far as you know,
Yes, I should get the serial killer glasses, huh? The little
have they
70s
driven down to
style.
New York City, or how would they come to be in New York City? If you know?
I believe that Brian Albert, Eddie Hernandez, and Kevin Albert all flew down to New York.
And they drove back with you because of the storm. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Now, after dropping them off there, where did you go from there?
I went back to the Canton Police Department where I dropped off Kevin Albert, and then switched vehicles.
Oh, I want to know, did he go back to the police department after drinking at the waterfall?
Got into my Jeep Wrangler, and I traveled up to the hillside in Canton.
Now, as far as traveling up to the hillside in Canton, who, if anyone, did you have plans with, or who, if anyone, did you coordinate with as far as going to the hillside?
Brian Albert agreed to meet me there.
And as far as switching from your government vehicle to a personal vehicle, is that correct?
Yes.
And why did you do that before going to the hillside?
because I was technically no longer on duty, so to speak, even though I had been at a funeral. But, I knew I would be consuming alcohol, and we have a policy against that.
Now, as far as vehicles related to you, whether they be personal or work and the Canton PD, how many vehicles do
I have not seen the text messages.
you have at that location?
So I would have had my government truck that I parked there. I would have had a surveillance vehicle that I parked there. And at times, it would sometimes flip in and out between a pickup truck that I had and the Jeep itself.
And the Jeep that you were driving that night, can you describe the Jeep, sort of what it looked like, what kind of Jeep it was?
So it's a 2011 Jeep Wrangler, gray in color. And at the time that I was driving it on the 28th and the 29th the next day,
Snowplow?
it had a plow on it.
And the plow that you had affixed to the Jeep Wrangler, is that, how big a plow are we talking about?
If I was to guess, it was probably 6 feet 8 inches. I believe they make them in two formats, 6'8" and I think 7'2". But I believe I have the smaller blade on that Jeep.
And how often would you have, was that like a year-round thing, or how often, when about would you have that plow affixed to the Jeep?
Inclement weather or impending inclement weather.
So to the hillside, do you know about what time it was that you got there?
I don't think it matters, right? Them going to the hillside. They got to the hillside. They hung out and drank for a little bit. And then I want to get to the part where they get to the waterfall, I guess. Waterfall. Where are we at? Hillside. Still at the hillside. When do we get to the waterfall? Right around here.
Where they were.
Now, with
Hi,
respect
Mom.
to Brian Albert, how would you describe sort of your relationship around this time of January 2022?
He's a good friend. He's a coworker. I had been working closely with his unit. I'd say he was a good friend.
And through that sort of work and your friendship, were you familiar with his family as well?
Yes.
And so when you came over to the area where Brian Albert was, his wife was there, correct?
Yes.
And who, if anyone else, was there that you were familiar with or that you knew when you came?
So it would have been Brian Albert. It would have been Nicole. I believe Caitlin was there. Caitlin Albert, Brian's daughter. Chris Albert, his wife, Julie. There might have been another couple, Matt McCabe and Jim McCabe.
What? Never got the notice of my live. YouTube, do your thing. Join the Discord too. We do notifications on there. It must suck to be one of those people.
And
Who,
as
the Chicago people or the people in this trial?
far as the McCabe's were concerned, how familiar were you with them?
Casually.
Now, at some point you come in, you join the group, is that correct?
Yes.
And how would you describe sort of, throughout the entirety of the evening or your time at the waterfall, how would you describe sort of the mood or the demeanor of the group within the bar?
It was a good time.
No arguments or anything like that you observed from anybody that was present over the
No,
course of?
no, it
Both.
was a good time, and there was a band.
And if you recall, what time was it that you left?
I would say right around when the band was wrapping up. So it was probably closer to midnight.
Now, prior to that, at some point between the time that you arrived and the time that the band's wrapping up and you're preparing to leave, who, if anyone else that you were familiar with, came into the waterfall?
John O'Keefe and the defendant.
And just be
Oh, he said the defendant. Didn't even say Karen Reed.
clear when you're referencing the defendant.
Hi,
what is his
Kendrick.
name?
Karen Reed.
And just to be clear for the record, do you see Ms. Reed in the courtroom today?
I do.
Did you identify just as where she's seated or an article of clothing that she's wearing?
She's seated between attorneys Jackson and Yannetti.
Just ask the record to reflect identification of the defendant by the witness.
Yes.
Now, with regard to Mr. O'Keefe, starting there, as far as how long had you known Mr. O'Keefe?
Maybe a year, a little over a year.
And do you recall how it was or where it was that you first met Mr. O'Keefe?
I believe it was actually the hillside.
And how often would it be that you saw Mr. O'Keefe or socialized with Mr. O'Keefe?
I would see him at the hillside.
And as far as, were you familiar with what Mr. O'Keefe did for work?
Yes.
And what were you familiar with him doing for work?
He was a Boston police officer.
And with reference to Ms. Reed, how long had you known the defendant?
It would be about the same time,
And,
or as long as.
and so roughly, what was your understanding as far as the relationship between Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Reed?
They were dating.
Now, with reference to occasions, as far as would there be occasions typically where you would see Mr. O'Keefe without Ms. Reed, or you would see Ms. Reed without Mr. O'Keefe, or were they
Were they seeing each other on the side?
potentially together when you saw them?
I would say more often than not, they'd be together.
And did you have occasion to see them at other sort of social settings outside of the hillside?
I went over the house one time before the end of Patriots game.
So if I could take you back, let me ask you this. As far as, how would you describe your relationship with John O'Keefe?
I considered him a friend.
And how would you describe
Okay, because I was like, wait a second. How did he end up at their house? Is he friends with Karen Reed or is he also friends with John?
your relationship with Ms. Reed?
I considered her a friend as well.
Now, through the course of time that you
He itched his face afterwards, though. More than a friend. Hi, Ken.
knew them, did you have occasion to get their contact information and have communication with each of them through their phones?
I had John and I had exchanged telephone numbers.
And with reference to those communications, were they texts, were they phone calls, or various?
Oh, they would be text.
And as far as the text communications that you had, you received his contact information, you texted, someone replied. How did you know that that was John O'Keefe that was replying to you?
Well, I had him saved in my phone, John O'Keefe. I don't know exactly where he gave me his phone number, but I knew it was him.
Now, on that evening, taking you back to the waterfall, January 28th into January 29th, do you know about what time it was that Mr. O'Keefe and the defendant came into the waterfall?
It would have been, I think, between like 11 and closing.
And do you recall sort of where you were situated in reference to the table when they came in?
So I think I was at the high top bar area, the high top in the bar area closest to the bar.
And when Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Reed came into the waterfall, what, if anything, did you observe? Where did they go when they first came in?
So when they first came in, I believe they may have initially went in, like, veered off in different directions. I recall that she opened her coat and took a drink out of it. I should say a glass.
And what, if any, observations did you make of the glass that Ms. Reed took out of her coat?
Okay, so another person to talk about the glass. So, like I said, maybe John and Karen both had a habit of just stealing glassware from the bars that they drink at.
It was a tall glass. It looked like a clear liquid in there.
And at some point, did you come to find out where Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Reed had been prior to coming to the waterfall?
16.
Are you familiar with another establishment in Canton called C.F. McCarthy?
Yes.
I wonder if they both were pretty drunk, because I could see drunk people doing that.
Is that a place that you've been to before?
Yes.
Now, as far as the glass that you saw with reference to the waterfall and or C.F. McCarthy's, what, if any, observations did you make of it?
Well, that it wasn't from the waterfall.
And what makes you say that?
Well, she walked in with it and took it out of her coat, but it wasn't consistent with the type of glasses that the waterfall had.
We would have loved to hear the testimonies from the bartenders saying that, because I don't know why we never got there. We had 2 bartenders, I think, that testified, and we never talked about the glassware. Like, oh, hey, does this look like the glassware that you guys serve at the waterfall?
And so let me just ask one further question in regards to that. So when you say it wasn't consistent, what was it about it that made it inconsistent with glasses from the waterfall?
I believe it was a tall glass and kind of like bubbles on the side of it, so to speak, like the design.
Now, after you make those observations, at some point over the course of the time that you were at the waterfall and they were there as well, did you have occasion to have a conversation with Mr. O'Keefe?
I did. I don't know that if it was initially when he first came in, but I did have a brief conversation with him as to the content. I don't recall what that was.
Just small talk, fair to say?
Greetings.
And with regard to Ms. Reed, during your time at the waterfall, what, if any, conversations did you have with her?
I did not have any.
Now, at this point in time on this date, did you have Ms. Reed's cell phone information
I did not.
at the time that you were at the waterfall?
No.
Do you recall sending a text or
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you repeat that question again?
What now? A spill-proof straw?
at this time, I know we've jumped around a couple days, but at this time that you were at the waterfall on the 28th or the 29th, did you have Ms. Reed's contact?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And at some point over the course of the evening while you were at the waterfall, did you send a text to Ms. Reed?
That'd be funny. Waterfall was like, excuse me, no, we actually use red solo cups to serve our drink.
I did.
And do you recall what the substance of that text was?
I think it was something like, well,
And do you recall what it meant as far as that text message or why you had sent that to her?
to be honest with you, it was, I guess you could view it as a flirty text.
Now,
Show us.
around midnight or so, when you leave the waterfall, well, I'm sorry, let me take it back just one step. At some point over the course of the evening while you're at the waterfall, what, if any, discussion is there around the table as far as next steps or where to go from there?
Well, it was talk at the table, I think initially about going back to Chris Albert's pizza shop to have some food and drink. And at some point that transitioned into going back to...
Wait, Vince, have you seen the TV show The Bear? Because now I think about it, I think The Bear, it's like this restaurant. And they were serving like thin sliced shaved beef or something like that.
I know it's us.
And
Hi, Dave.
As far as
Good
the
morning.
invitation to go back to Brian Albert's house, was that something that was extended to the entirety of the table?
I took it as an open invitation to the people that were together at the table, yes.
And Mr. Albert's house, is that somewhere that you had been to before?
I had been there, the twins' graduation party, which was outside in the backyard, and I think I may have dropped him off on one occasion. I may
Did you use the bathroom? Did you go inside?
have dropped something in his mailbox, but
Hi, Aaron. How are you doing today? Hello.
those would be the only other times.
And are you familiar, at least now, with the address and sort of where you were going? Did you know where you were going that night?
I knew where I was going, yes.
And the address was 34th Fairview Road.
That is correct, yes.
And about what time? About midnight or so, when you're leaving, who, if anyone, was leaving the bar around the same time?
I mean, I think pretty much everybody was wrapping up and leaving. I know that I beat Brian and Nicole back to the house.
Now, as far as the time at the waterfall, with reference to either Mr. O'Keefe or Ms. Reed, what, if any, observations did you make in regard to what they were drinking that night?
I think John was having beers, his typical, what I would see him with, and
Hey,
the
good guy.
defendant had, glasses.
And do you recall her ever, at any point that you were there, if you recall, drinking out of a glass different than the one she took out of her coat when she first arrived?
I don't recall.
Now, you drove from the waterfall to Fairview Road, about how long a drive was that?
Probably a few minutes. But the weather was, I remember when I came out, I put the wipers on. There was some snow on the ground, but it was the type of snow where the roadway was still black at the time, but because it was being driven on, but the sidewalk had a light coating.
Yeah, I think at the time, law enforcement thought it was a good idea to use red Solo cups to try to like save the blood droplets, and then putting it in the paper bag and then using the leaf blower. Like, I think at the time they thought it was like, oh, this is probably a good idea. We're just going to just do with what we got. But when you present it in trial, it just sounds really off and really bad. And I did look bad too when I forgot who was on the stand, but the defense was like, oh, like, isn't the police station like a minute away? It's like, oh yeah. It's like, couldn't you have gone to the police station to get something? Like, I remember they're like, oh, couldn't you get like the sterile swabs? And like, oh, we didn't think the sterile swabs would do anything, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if it does or not. But yeah, like I could totally see the law enforcement thinking that they did what they could at the time. But like I said, when you present it in the court, it's just like, what the fuck?
And you drive over to the home, and you mentioned that you beat Mr. Albert there. Is that correct?
I did.
And
Like, I would say that law enforcement, I think they should have pushed harder for state police to come and fucking process the crime scene, But I was also wondering, when did they find out that John O'Keefe had passed away? Like, when was he declared officially dead at the hospital? Maybe there was like some delay or something, because I think they should just be like, hey, state police, come over here. Like, the man has been declared dead. Like, you guys need to come over here and process fucking crime scene because we're not used to doing it or something,
so with regard to the home, when you get there, what did you do when you got there?
Well, I was kind of being a smart ass, and I dropped the plow, and I did a little sweep of the driveway, and then I got out of the driveway because I didn't want to get blocked in, and I parked.
And do you recall where you parked in relation to the house?
I do, by the mailbox.
Hey, Kiki.
Your Honor, with court's permission, if I could publish what's been marked as
Oh, God, no, please. Mr. Lolly, he's in front of the mailbox. We don't need to do this again.
About the same time that Brian and Nicole showed up. I don't know if they entered before me or I entered after them. I entered the house. What I recollect is that Brian Albert Jr. is sitting kind of at the island or in the island area, and I believe...
Oh, by the way, the other shoe, they did find the other shoe, by the way. Holy crap. I re-listened to the opening statements, and yeah, I don't know. I think re-listening to opening statements again kind of helps a little bit, assuming what Mr. Lawley is saying is true. I got through like almost like 80% of the opening statements of Mr. Lawley, and then I fell asleep on the plane. But I would, re-listening to opening statements help a lot, because I was like, okay, I think this is what Mr. Lawley's doing. I think Mr. Lawley wants to focus on not necessarily presenting evidence to prove that Karen Reed did it. I think he wanted to focus on getting the heat off of Jen McCabe, the Albert family, blah, 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 blah. I think that's what he's trying to do. That's why that's why he started with all like the shitty testimonies in the beginning, okay? Aside from the paramedics and aside from, there was like paramedics, and then there was the person who worked at UC Davis veterinary school. I think those were okay. And then like some law enforcement testimony, I think those were okay to start with. But then we started getting to like the Alberts and the McCabe and then Carrie Roberts, and I was just like, this is a very interesting way of order of doing things. I think he just wanted to get rid of those like meh testimonies out of the way, like get all the Alberts testimony out of the way, and then focus on the evidence, or if he has evidence that shows that, Karen Reed may or may not have done it, right? Because I think after all of that nonsense with the Albert family, then we could focus on, okay, well, let's see, what does the state actually have on Karen Reed? Do they have anything, or do they not have anything?
He was flanked by at least one female, possibly two, one on each side.
And
sorry, I want to say, they did find the other shoe. They found the other shoe.
Are those females, did you know them? Did you recognize them? Did you know them?
I may have recognized one I've seen before, but I didn't know them.
And just lastly, before we go back into the house, when you park, when you do the first plowing in the driveway and then parking, did you see Mr. Albert arrive at the house around that time?
I don't know, but it was mentioned in opening statements, unless Lolly lied about it. Apparently, they went back a couple hours later, and they did find the other shoe, and they found pieces of the taillight. That's what Mr. Lolly said in opening statements. Because initially, I thought the taillight pieces were found like days after the snow melted. But let me go back to opening statements, and I'll play it for you guys next time. Where was it, though? I don't think Lolly mentioned it. I think Lolly just said, like, they went back a couple hours later, found the other shoe, and then found taillight pieces. But hold on. Don't hold me on to that, because I was listening to it while I was, like, on the airplane.
When I parked
I'm hoping I didn't misinterpret it. Maybe I did. Hi, Alex. How are you doing today? How's it going?
Yeah.
Well, yes. So I made the sweep, and as I could see the vehicle coming up, I made the sweep, got out of the way so he could park.
Or I could probably look it up right now, actually, because they have transcripts.
We had parked in the driveway around the time that you're
Give me a
parking.
second.
Yes.
And so when you come in the house and you see the people that you've described, where were they situated within the house?
So I came through what I would call like a breezeway door. So there's a front door to the residence, there's the garages, and in between there is a like a breezeway door. I came in through there, and it's kind of like you're in the kitchen. I think there's like an island, so to speak.
Because
You may be able to sit at it, and Brian Elbert Jr. was right there, and again flanked by one, if not two females.
Now, at some point after your arrival, who, if anyone else that you were familiar with, came by the house?
I believe it was Jen and Matt McCabe.
You know about how long it was after you arrived that they arrived?
No, I don't know. I mean, I don't think it was much longer. People stopped.
Don't worry, Corey. We're not going to impeach you. Well, if I'm saying something incorrectly, you better impeach me. So I'm just kidding. Impeachment is usually like if you're like lying,
Float in at that point.
right? Hi, Moon Dog.
And beyond sort of the kitchen area that you were describing before, where else did you go within the house that night?
At one point, briefly, Brian Elbert showed me some photographs, family. I believe primarily it might have been of his son who had recently been in the Marine Corps. Gone into, I should say.
And do you recall, or why was he showing you specifically like those photographs of his son in the Marine Corps?
Because he's proud.
Now, as far as yourself and or Mr. Albert, what if any familiarity or what if any background do you or Mr. Albert have with regard to the military?
Brian was in the Marine Corps. I was in the Army.
Now, this period that you're talking about in the other room, about how long a period was that?
It was brief.
And beyond yourself and Mr. Albert, was there anyone else from the group that you described that was in the room at the same time as you and Mr. Albert?
I don't think so. I think Nicole may have popped in for a second, but I'm not 100% positive on that.
And as far as, do you know approximately what time you left the house on Fairview that evening?
I'd guesstimate it was anywhere between 12:30 and 1 o'clock, but I'm not 100% positive.
So relatively.
Okay, this is, hold on. Later on that day. Oh, but maybe Lolly. Oh, because Lolly, when he talks about timelines, he jumps around a lot. I think he meant this is the day where John O'Keefe was found. I could be mistaken if Lolly was jumping around, and I might have got. Hello? Hold on, listen.
Now, you'll hear testimony, as I said, from a number of different troopers, as well as from a number of different analysts from different labs. Included within that is Ms. Maureen Hartnett, who collected items from the vehicle, the defendant's vehicle, including the taillights, sort of housing from that vehicle, pieces of the taillight that were discovered in sort of the front grass, front street area. There is a specialized team called the CERT team. You'll hear from Lieutenant Kevin O'Hara, who has a supervisory role in relation to that. And then later on that day of the 29th, he along with Lieutenant Tully and
Later on that day of the 29th, he along with Lieutenant Tully,
a number of different members from his CERT team were searching for evidence within the mounds of snow in front of that house, as the blizzard is still ongoing at this point through sort of the afternoon hours. Among the items that they locate is a sneaker. When Mr. O'Keefe is transported to the hospital, he's found to only have one sneaker on his feet. They find the other sneaker in that area of the body.
because it was always my understanding that they didn't find taillight pieces until days after the snow had already melted. But based on Lolly's opening statement, it seems like they found taillight pieces and the other sneaker a couple hours after John O'Keefe's body was found on the 29th.
Find various pieces of taillight. And as is wont to do, over the course of the following days, the temperatures rise, there's a rainstorm that comes in, and the snow melts. Over those successive
Anyways, so I was like listening. I was like, oh shit, like, okay, that's kind of important. All right, anyways.
Short period of time, is that correct?
It was a short period of time.
Right? Alex says I don't remember that from opening. Me neither. I didn't remember that either. I think I try my best to write notes. So I think at the time, maybe I didn't know it was important. I might have wrote in my notes and just forgot about it. Oh my God. Okay, anyways.
I knew kind of from the onset when I got in there, it probably wasn't going to be a long time
Because everyone was like, where's the other sneaker? Where's the other sneaker? I'm like, I don't know. Did they ever find the other sneaker?
because I'm not a beer drinker, and that's what they had. So I was probably one of the first people to leave.
Now, for that entirety of the time that you were there, did you go anywhere else within the home beyond what you described as far as the kitchen and the living room?
No,
Did you go upstairs at any time?
no,
Did you go downstairs in any sort of basement area at any time?
no.
And when you exited the home, do you recall which of the two doors that you described that you would have exited from?
The same door I came in, the breezeway.
Now, during the time that you were there, similar to what I asked about the waterfall, how would you describe sort of the
Sneaker.
mood or demeanor within the home?
Is that what I said?
It was fine. I mean, everybody was happy.
And at any point in time while you were at 34 Fairview, do you, any of the people that were in the house, do you recall seeing them go outside of the house and come back or anything like that?
I can't say definitively I saw anybody come in or out of the house, but I think somebody might have been in the process of maybe being picked up.
And not anybody that you were super familiar with, is that fair to say?
I think it was one of the females.
Now, with respect to the front of the house, at any point in time that you were inside of the house, was your attention drawn or did you look out the windows of the door or anything like that?
No.
And when you were in the kitchen area, do you recall sort of how you were positioned in relation to the windows facing the front of the house?
So I would have had my back to that area, my back to the door that I came in.
And
Bobby says, my theory was a dog got the sneaker after attacking him. Oh, and it had DNA and dog bites on it, and that's why it was missing. Never mind, I guess. LOL. It's all good. Not realizing plow was down, according to him, for a few inches, I believe.
specifically with reference to
This was after he left 34 Fairview?
Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Reed. At any point in time, did you see either of them inside the house or outside of the house or around the house or anywhere around 34 Fairview Road?
Absolutely not, no.
And at any point in time,
That's actually a good thought, though. Knowing my dog stealing the sneaker definitely tracks. Yeah, that's actually a pretty good. I didn't even think about that. But now that we know that both sneakers are there, I'm sure they can. Well, I don't know if they would really test the sneaker for dog DNA. Maybe they could do it after the fact, after the dog has been accused.
over the course of the evening, what, if any, communication or text or anything did you send to either of those two people while you were at the house on Fairview?
While I was at the house, I think I shot a text just to John. Where are you? I think that's what it was.
And if you recall, did you ever get a response to that text?
No, there was no response.
So after you left the waterfall, when you left the waterfall, was Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Reed, the defendant, still there?
I can't say 100% no.
But after you left the waterfall, at any point in time, did you speak to, text with, or communicate in any way, shape, or form, or see in any way, shape?
I know we heard testimony from the woman who said she, from UC Davis, they got, I think they swabbed his wounds, right? His, like John's body. I think that's what you guys said. Because I wasn't sure if they did the body or the shirts, but I think you guys said they did his actual, his body, and they found no dog DNA or anything like that. I'm sure, I feel like that person went so out of order because maybe she had like a time constraint or like some sort of like scheduling conflict. But I'm sure there'll be some other people that were the ones that did the actual swab who go up there and testify, just to give us like a very clear timeline of chain of custody.
Shape or form, either Mr. O'Keefe or Ms. Reed?
Well, again, the only person I shot the text to while I was at the house was John, but after I left the waterfall, I never saw John O'Keefe or the defendant again.
Now, when you left from the residence, and again, you're not sure what time that was?
Between 12:30 and 1 o'clock.
They found pig DNA. I remember that. And they were like, oh, how do you get pig DNA? It's like, oh, if you ate something that had like pork, or if you ate pork.
And do you recall who amongst the group was still at the house at the time you left?
I think I was probably the first person to leave.
So all of the other people that you've described would have still been in the house when you exited from the house?
Yes.
Now, you indicated earlier that you're familiar with Mr. Albert and his family to some extent, correct?
Yes.
You've been to his
You see, I think Mr. Lawley in his opening statements, because he introduced so many names, like he literally gave the names of all the different detectives, the sergeants, the lieutenants, the paramedics. And then on top of that, you have the fucking Albert family, the friends of the family, other people of law enforcement that are that are close to the Albert family, blah, 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 blah. I think Mr. Lawley made it so convoluted by giving us so many names that we're just kind of like, I think we started tuning him out a little bit, which we shouldn't have, or we started getting a little bit confused. Because when it came to the important stuff, I think I might have just been checked out or something. I don't know. Need a poll. Karen getting over or under 10 mil after this farce. Hello, Dennis Ballon. Thank you so much for, is that a Canadian? Thank you for the 100 Canadian dollars.
house for a graduation party for his twins, correct?
Yes.
Through that, at any point in
I
time,
need a banner of the Albert McCabe family tree. We had the Albert family tree that Court TV made, and y'all were shitting on it.
prior to this date, did you become aware or familiar with
Hi, Dino.
Brian Albert's nephew, Colin Albert?
I know the name, and I know that he is
You guys are muted? What do you mean you guys are muted? I see you.
one of the sons of Chris Albert.
Are you familiar with what he looks like?
If he walked in here right now, I wouldn't know.
You would not know?
No.
And beyond the people that you've described as far as seeing at 34 Fairview Road, fair to say you don't recall anybody being introduced or identified as Colin Albert?
No.
Now, you exit from the home through the breezeway door and go over to your vehicle, is that right?
Yes.
And from the time that you would enter the home to the time
You think Higgins is a creep, maybe, but it's got the vibe from Karen that when she came to his house, she turned. Oh, sorry, we're not even there yet. Okay, I'll get there soon.
now that you're exiting from the home, what, if any, change did you note as far as the weather?
Just that the weather was getting worse. The snow was picking up.
And as far as the accumulation that you had described before, as far as you could still see the blacktop and all that when you left the waterfall, what was it like when you came out of the house?
Again, I think that the streets that weren't being traveled, there was snow on them.
Hi, Nicole.
There was coverage.
And as far as the front lawn area of the house at 34 Fairview Road, what, if any, observations did you make of that?
Can you rephrase that?
Sure. As far as the snow was concerned, was
Yes.
the snow sticking to or was it accumulating on the lawn as well?
I believe so. I mean, when I walked from the breezeway to the Jeep, there was snow on the ground.
Oh, no, it's good. I don't mind these spoilers. You guys can talk about the spoilers in the chat if you guys want to.
Now, the front yard area of the house,
This is like a week old, so y'all can talk about the spoilers. I just haven't gotten there yet, so.
that's something that you were looking at with any particularity or taking note of as you were walking your Jeep down the driveway?
No, it was a long day. We had been on the road. I just was looking to get home.
And
You don't know if he's a creep, just a lonely guy with no
when you
game?
get to your Jeep, can you describe to the jury sort of how it was that you pulled away or what, if anything, you recall about that process?
So I got in the Jeep, started it up, may have looked at my phone, put it in drive and started to pull away. And then I'm like, put the plow up. So I reached, I moved a couple of feet. I heard it grinding on the ground, reached for the device called the fish stick, picked it up, lifted the plow, and then drove away.
Okay, so
And
you plowed a
the
little
plow
bit.
that you had affixed to the front of the Jeep, I think you've talked a little bit about it, but how is that sort of controlled and who controls that?
So the operator controls it. The mechanism to control it, again, is called a fish stick. It's on like a joystick that's.
Now, in addition to moving it sort of up and down, is there any other way that you can manipulate the blade as far as that switch is concerned?
This is
Yeah,
Morton.
so if I would generally, if I'm driving around town and I'm not worried about the vehicle heating up, I
I haven't seen this testimony yet at all.
just lift the plow off a couple feet off the ground. If I was on the highway, I would tilt it to get airflow.
And as far as height is concerned for that plow, if you were to lift it all the way to the top, what, if any, impact would that have with reference to your line of sight or visibility through the windshield?
0.
So even if it's raised all the way as far as it can go, you can still see over the top of the blade?
Yeah, if it comes even with the hood of the Jeep, I'd be surprised.
So you pull forward a couple of feet, and then you lift it about how high did you lift it when you stop and then lift up?
Probably like a foot or two.
And as far as...
Okay, I updated my title. Is that better? I have not seen Karen/Brian Higgins text yet. LOL. I haven't seen it yet.
Following that...
I took a screenshot for my thumbnail, but I didn't really see anything crazy here. Sorry, it was there.
From the house, is that right?
Correct.
And as you're pulling away from the house, where's your attention drawn, or what, if anything, did you see as far as when you're pulling away from the house?
Wasn't drawn to anything. I just drove away.
And when you drove away, again, during that process, did you see anything outside of the house that drew concern or your attention or anything like that?
No.
Now, as far as when you get out to your vehicle and you're driving away, were there any other vehicles on the street?
Oh, boomer tags. What if they're cute and endearing? When I travel for work, I collect the Starbucks commemorative coffee mugs. No, I don't collect anything. I don't like... it's because like it's so easy for me to like overdo things and clutter things. I try to just... Yeah, no. But I kind of want to when I travel. Like I want to collect like little like handmade like ceramics or something like that. I think it'd be really cool when you travel to different countries.
That you saw in the area of the residents at 34 Fairview?
I didn't see any.
And do you recall
Toxic
whether or not there were any
flirting.
tire tracks in the snow or anything that you saw when you came out to the vehicle, if you recall?
I do not recall.
Now, you leave the residence at 34 Fairview, and where did you go?
I started the fridge magnet thing and I'm like, no.
I went back to the Canton police.
And why was it that you went back to the
Okay, so he did go back to the Canton Police Department. Why?
Canton Police Station?
Well, we had traveled down for the services for those police officers, and we anticipated staying the following day. I think I had said that we left a day earlier. So I had left a key to the surveillance vehicle on top of my desk so that somebody could move the vehicle, because a lot of times Chief Berkowitz would get after me as a courtesy. I was parking vehicles there, sometimes my personal, but primarily my work vehicles. And one thing he asked me, just leave the vehicles in the middle of the parking lot so that snow could be cleared.
They're not cute or endearing. They're vomiting. But aren't flirty text messages with people, aren't they supposed to be cringe and stuff?
So the
I guess
reason for
we'll
heading
see,
back
I'll see.
there was to move those vehicles, because if I didn't do it then, I would have had to get up early and do it. And I also know they plow through the night, so that would be the reason for heading back.
Not sure if they read
Before
the
we-
emails yet. Did they read emails?
Get a little more into that as far as the funeral that you went to. Were these people that you knew or had met or were familiar with?
No.
So you get back to the police station, and with regard to the Canton Police Station, what, if any, access did you have to the Canton PD, and sort of how did you facilitate that?
So I would describe it as a proxy card. The doors have card readers. Generally in the parking lot, when you come into the police station, you drive in. Sally ports are
Karen was tripping. Why? You saw that she came to her senses.
Off to your right-hand side, there's two bay doors there. There's a pass-through door, and then over in the corner would typically where I would bury both vehicles. So if I was, typically it would be my take-home pickup truck that I described earlier, and it would be the surveillance vehicle. But if I had, that could be swapped out with one of my personal vehicles. I would leave a personal vehicle there if I took one of those two vehicles. And then for me to access into the building, the most direct door would be that pass-through door by the Sally Port.
And sort of that back area, is that typically where you would park?
Yes.
And just in reference to you talk about a surveillance vehicle, that's something that you use as far as conducting surveillance and performance of your duties as a law enforcement officer?
Yes.
And so fair to say that would not be something you would want to park, like, say, in front of the police station?
No.
Now, that path that you took, is that the typical path that you would take, sort of park to the back and then cut through the Sally Port into the station?
Yes. That would
Higgins is what, like mid-40s maybe?
be the route that I would go.
And if you recall, is that the route that you went on that particular early morning when you came back to the station?
I believe it is.
And when you come back to the station and you go in, where are you going within the police station when you enter?
So, I'm going up to I was going up to my office to grab the key for that surveillance vehicle. So when you come through that pass-through door at the Sally Port, the first door would be through the booking and the holding area that directly goes into the dispatch area.
He's so dreamy. I mean, he looks fine. He speaks fine. But, you never know with people when they when they're trying to come at you, okay?
Yep. But if you walk to the extreme other end, there's another door on the other end, common hallway. I'd walk down that hallway, hit a set of stairs, and I would go up that way.
Now, if I could take you back just for a second, as far as when you initially
Right, Aaron? Me too.
walk into the Sally Port area, that's a garage, basically, correct?
Yes.
And when you come into the garage, the door that you would then enter to come into the station, where is that in relation to the door that you come from the exterior? How far away are the two?
So if you come into, I guess what you're asking, so if I come into the Sally Port, immediately to the right, there's the door that goes into the holding area, booking area, and then probably it's probably 12 feet long to get to the other door.
So from where you're parking and where you come into the Sally Port, it's not like you then have to walk across the garage or anything like that to get to the door into the station. Is that correct?
Well, you do walk across the garage, but it's small.
And when you say
Higgins
small,
got mad
how
game.
far?
About 12 feet, maybe?
And so you come into the station, you go by the dispatch, is that correct?
So as I'm walking down the hallway, dispatch would be off to the right. It's a wooden door with two glass panes.
And as far as the Canton Police Station is
Oh my
concerned,
God. You guys are making me laugh so much. I need to go use the bathroom. I'm going to pee my pants. Give me 2 seconds. All right, I'm back. I'm ready for these text messages. I'm ready.
are you familiar with or were you aware at the time that there is sort of security and cameras and such around the station?
Yes.
You're aware that those cameras record, is that correct?
Yes.
And are you aware of any records that are generated as far as your key card access when you go through a certain door at certain times?
Well, I've never seen those records, but it's my understanding it tracks
Oh, they made him read his own text messages? Oh my God, that does make sense.
access control.
And did you happen to go by the dispatch area specifically? And if so, do you know who was working there that night?
Newly promoted Sergeant Good, I believe. Probably.
So what is the defense's theory? Saying that he was involved because he was in love, obsessed with Karen Reed, maybe wanting to get John Reed out of the way, does the deed, and then goes back to the police department so he can control who's going to respond and handle the dispatch, and then who's going to appear at the scene, I guess? Is that what they're going with? Oh, thank you. Thank you. Because I felt like the defense, they made a big deal about him going back to the police station after leaving the Albert family home. That's my theory? No?
He was on midnights.
Do you have any specific recollection of seeing him there that evening or that early morning when you came by?
I believe I waved to him.
Allegedly convey our information to Albert's and investigators.
And as far as when you get to the police station, do you have how far drive is it from Fairview to the police?
Well, wasn't I think defense said that Michael Proctor, the lead investigator, can't wait to hear from him. By the way, they are going to call Michael Proctor because Mr. Lally said in an opening statement, they're going to call Michael Proctor on the stand, okay? He's going to testify. I can't wait to get to there. But I remember hearing that Michael Proctor was in communication with Chris Albert. I'm not sure if he was in communication with Brian Higgins.
Station, if you know.
Well, I mean, the weather was picking up, so it probably took me a little bit longer to get back, but it's probably 5-10 minutes maybe.
Hi, Dave.
Now, the key that you went to your office to get a key, correct?
Yes.
And why had you left the key to one of the vehicles in the office?
So as I stated earlier, I anticipated not even being back in Massachusetts, knew the storm was coming, didn't know how bad it was, but I left the key on the desk to facilitate somebody being able to move that.
And so you go to your office, you get the key, and then where did you go from there?
I go back downstairs and I move the vehicles.
Oh, yeah, I heard something about, I think defense said that him and Brian Albert got rid of their phones or something like that. We already handled Brian Albert. I haven't heard his portion yet.
To the center of the parking lot.
And then at some point you leave, is that correct?
Yes.
Do you know about how long it was after you moved the vehicles around that you left Canton Peak?
Not long, but I'd be guessing if I gave you time.
And so where did you go from there?
I went back to West Roxbury.
And which vehicle that you described, which of those vehicles did you use to get from Canton PD to West Roxbury?
The Jeep Cherokee, Jeep Wrangler, sorry.
And if you know about what time
I feel like drinking and driving in Canton, not a big deal. Someone says, yeah, move cars drunk is most do.
was it that you got home to West Roxbury?
I feel like all of them were drinking. All of them were just like, yeah, I could drive.
Could have been somewhere around 20 or 2. I'm not 100% positive.
So sometime between 1:30 and 2 a.m., is that roughly around?
Yes.
And when you get home, do you recall like what it was that you did when you got home?
Well, it was a long day. We had traveled, the traffic, it just seemed like it dragged on forever. But I think I did what I typically do after being out, having a couple of drinks. I had something else to eat, and I believe I might have had another couple of drinks and either laid on the couch or laid on my bed. And typically I would fall asleep if I was on the couch and wake up and go into the bedroom. I don't know what location I was in at that point.
Now, after you fall asleep at some point later on that morning or something, you wake up obviously at some period, correct?
Yes.
And do you recall what it was that awoke you on that morning?
I mean, for lack of better words, my phone, both my work and my personal phones were blowing up. They were going off.
And if you know about what time in the morning was that?
Probably around 6:30-ish.
And who, if anyone, as far as you looked at your phones, and who, if anyone, was blowing up the phone, who was calling you with that?
Well, I think first it was Chief Berkowitz, and then Brian Albert.
And you mentioned first it was Chief Berkowitz. Did you answer the chief's call at that time?
No.
And was that abnormal for the chief to be calling you at that time of day?
No, he's an early riser, and typically when he was working, again, we also had a friendship. He would call in the morning, kind of like checking in with each other. So I just kind of like, why are you calling me this early? Kind of just blew it off. But then when I saw Brian Albert calling me, like that kind of caused me some concern because I'm like, why is he calling me? He was out with me all day yesterday. We both had the same long day, and I was concerned at that point.
And so you answered the phone from Mr. Albert, is that correct?
Yes.
And what, if anything, did you learn from him, or what, if anything, did he tell you?
Objection. I'm going to sustain the objection at this point.
So you receive a call from him and you have some sort of conversation, correct?
Yes.
Now, prior to that, from the time that you got home to the time that you answered this call from Brian Albert, do you recall having any phone calls or conversations with anybody during that time period?
No.
And specifically, did you talk to Brian Albert on the phone at any point between the time you left his home and the time that you woke up the next morning to his phone call?
No, I did not.
Now, the previous day, over the course of it, we're all waking up in New York and then driving home and going to the hillside and going to the waterfall and going to Mr. Albert's house. Had you and Mr. Albert communicated via cell phone, whether it be text or phone call at any point in time during the course of that day?
You mean the day before?
Yes.
Yes.
So he was fairly recent in your contacts, is that correct?
Yes.
And so as far as that phone call that you received from Mr. Albert, based on whatever information that you learned from that, what did you do then?
I got dressed and went right over to the house at 34th Fairview.
And when you left your house in West Roxbury and went back to 34th Fairview, what were you driving at that point?
I was still in the Jeep Wrangler.
And if you know about
Were you plowing, sir?
what time or so was it that you arrived back at 34th Fairview late that morning?
Maybe a little after 7.
And when you arrived there, what, if anything, did you see?
I mean, I just went into the house.
As far as outside of the house, when you arrived there, what, if anything, did you see outside the house?
Oh, no. Counsel exposed all the numbers without redactions. Oh, boy.
I don't recall. Maybe a police car. I don't remember.
Now, with regard
Because remember, even if they got new phone numbers, there's someone out there who's going to take those old numbers. Oh, boy.
to starting with the weather, when you woke up and you were driving back to 34 Fairview, what was the weather like at that point in reference to when you had gotten home to West Roxbury the night before?
It was real bad.
And as far as when you get to the house at 34 Fairview, sometime around 7 a.m. or so, where is it that you parked in relation to the home at that point?
He said like he did for a couple, I guess like when he started his car, he didn't notice that the plow was down, but then he realized because it was like scraping, probably because there's no freaking, not a lot of snow on the ground. But he said it was like scraping, and yeah, he put it back up.
Might have went in the driveway. I don't remember specifically where I parked.
And as far as other vehicles there, how many other vehicles, were there more or less vehicles there that morning than there were when you were there the night before?
I couldn't say definitively.
And when you come into the house, who, if anyone, is it that you see inside the house when you get there?
So I saw Brian, I saw Nicole, Brian Jr. may have popped in and out of the same kitchen area that I was in before, Jen and Matt McCabe, and then a short time later, Julie Albert showed up.
And Julie Albert, when she showed up, what, if anything, did you observe her to have with her when she showed up?
Oh, that might explain the odd injuries to John's arms. It wasn't a plow that obscured vision, he said. Hello, all.
Like
Hi, Wayne.
box of donuts or muffins or something like that.
And
Wait, really? They both got new phones on the same day? Well, I'm not there yet, but that's a bit interesting. Because I was thinking like, okay, well, maybe, Brian Albert got it. It just happened to be coincidence. But if Higgins also got on the same day, what was he also celebrating his birthday as well, getting new cell phone devices?
as far as the house when you come
I
in,
wonder, I guess I'll wait to see what his explanation for that is.
sort of the evening before, but
What kind of muffins did you get, Mr. Lolly? No muffins for Mr. Lolly.
how would you describe sort of the mood and demeanor of the people in the house when you arrived there later on that morning, sometime around 7 or so?
Higgins got a new phone after the preservation order expired. Oh, okay. I'll wait till I get there, I guess. I don't know.
People were pretty distraught
And did you know why they were distraught?
because John had been found on the lawn.
And is that why you had gone to the house?
Yes.
And when you received that information or were informed of that, how did
Yeah, I know Albert got it the day before it was supposed to be collected. And I was thinking like, okay, well, maybe someone just like tipped him off. But I feel like the only people that would have known would have been the defense team because they were the one that filed that motion. So you would have to say that someone in the defense team tipped off Brian Albert like, hey, we're going to collect your phones. Better be careful. Better get rid of your phone now. I don't know.
you receive that information or what, if any, impact did that have on?
Well,
Objection, Your Honor. If sustained, you can ask it differently.
When did you
All right, we'll see who's right, Vince or Tommy.
first learn of Mr. O'Keefe being
We'll
found
watch it in real time.
on the lawn at 34 Fairview?
during the phone call at about 6:30ish when Brian Albert, when I spoke with him,
And what was your reaction when you received that information?
it didn't make sense to me. I couldn't do the math in my head because I know John O'Keefe and the defendant never showed up. It didn't make sense.
And so from this time that you're in the house, do you recall any sort of conversation about within the group as far as what was going on?
Objection. Just do you recall that there was a conversation?
Yes, I recall that there was conversation and it was,
Objection. Just that.
Okay.
Next question, Mr. Lilly.
Now, from the time that you arrived there later on that morning, about how long a period of time were you there for?
less than an hour.
And from there, where did you go from there?
I don't know if I went back to the police station or I went to West Roxbury. Might have been the police station.
And if you went to the police station, why would you have gone to the police station at that point?
Because Bobby says anyone at the courthouse could have tipped them off about the phone preservation orders coming down the pipe. Yeah, possibly. But let's say the motion was set for the 29th. Wouldn't they have just turned it in on the 29th? Not like, okay, let's turn it in on the 28th, but we'll say that it is set, it goes into, we're requesting it to go into effect the 29th. I would have assumed the defense would have just, I don't know. I would have assumed the defense, if they wanted to go on the 29th, they would just turn it in on the 29th. I don't know.
Because I was still trying to put things together in my head. I was upset. Those would be the reasons.
Do you recall whether or not, bless you, do you recall whether or not you were at the police station that day?
Yes,
No, I'll allow it.
yes, I'm pretty sure I was there.
And do you know about how long you were there or about what time it was that you were there?
No, I couldn't say specifically.
And after you left the police station that day, where did you go from there?
At some point, I probably went back to West Roxbury. I don't specifically remember.
Now, again, from when you went, maybe a fairly simple question, but as far as you drove the Jeep Wrangler from West Roxbury back to Fairview Road that morning, correct?
Yes.
And then you drove that Jeep Wrangler from Fairview Road to the Canton Police Station at some point during the day?
I believe I was in that vehicle all day.
Now, at some point a few days following this, did you have occasion to meet with some troopers from the state police?
I did.
And do you recall who those troopers were?
Trooper Proctor and Trooper Buchanan.
And were you familiar with those troopers prior to that date that you met with them?
So I was familiar with Trooper Buchanan. Evidently, I was reminded by Trooper Proctor that I had met him before. I think I helped him on a gun recovery that he made, but I didn't remember him.
And as far as you mentioned, sort of socializing with other officers from law enforcement, had you ever socialized with either Sergeant Mechanic or Trooper Proctor before?
So Trooper Proctor, no. I had seen Trooper Buchanan on a number of occasions at a local gym. I had seen him one time at the hillside. I think he might have been with his child after a sporting event. I think I said hello. I bought him a drink, but I wouldn't classify that.
Okay, so I think we have some agreements here. So it seems like Higgins got a new phone and carrier on November 29th or October 20th. Sorry, got a new phone, carrier/number on the 29th, but then tossed the old one at the end of October, maybe when the order expired or maybe when it's denied. We'll wait till we get there.
That is socializing, more being friendly, but I also, that area of responsibility, the South Shore, south of Boston, Cape and Islands, I was assigned to a group where I would interface with people in that area, and that Norfolk CPAC office would be people that over the years I've probably dealt with.
Now, when you met with him on this day, do you recall specifically what day it was?
No.
If I said February 3rd, would that sound about right, or if you know?
I would say in that area.
And when you met with them, you had a conversation with them or an interview in regard to what had transpired on the 28th and 29th, correct?
Yes.
And following sort of the substance of that interview, what, if anything, did you provide the troopers with?
Do they want his work phone and his personal phone, or just the personal one?
I provided them with text messages that I had exchanged and had on my phone with John O'Keefe, and text messages that I had exchanged with the defendants.
And how did you, in what sort of format did you provide those text messages to the troopers?
Well, they were copies, and I believe that the format would be, the way to categorize it, screenshots.
And how is it that you sort of generated these from your phone?
I consulted a coworker, who's also a friend, and
in two different bins? What do you mean? Like he broke it in half and discarded in two different bins?
he has the training with the cell phones. I told him I wanted to provide these to the state police. What is the best way that I can get them off my phone and provide them to law enforcement?
And why was it that you felt it was important, or why is it that you wanted to share those with the troopers?
Well, I thought it was important because I've had communication with the both of them, and I wanted to be fully transparent.
Now, with reference to either or both of those communications with Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Reed, the material that you provided to the troopers, what if anything, did you do to that material before giving it to them?
Nothing.
So as far as the material or the text that you provided to the troopers, that was what was on your phone?
Yes.
There was no deletions, no excising any material, nothing like that before you gave it to the troopers?
No, exactly what was on my phone, I provided to them.
And specifically, as you were providing it to them or shortly thereafter, did you have a conversation with Sergeant Cooper?
He put the SIM in one bin and the phone in the other? I don't know. I guess, one, I wouldn't throw my phone away. What kind of phone did he have? Wouldn't he just give it to someone else or sell it, or just what phone was it? I don't think it's weird to separate the SIM from the fin. The SIM from the fin. I don't think it's weird to separate the SIM from the phone from each other. I'm trying to think. I could see myself doing that, but then I would be like, why would I throw the phone away? I would just keep the phone, or I would just I would sell the phone, or I would just give it to someone, or no, it depends on how old the phone is.
Mechanic in reference to that very thought.
Or you just take the SIM card and you wait, actually, because it's a different carrier. So I was like, wait, why do you have to snap the SIM card in half? I would just snap the SIM card in half, I guess. Yeah, I wouldn't. I think I would probably do the same thing. Broken SIM card in one bin, drove or walked to another to throw his white phone away. Why did he throw the phone away? I think that's more weird than anything. Throwing the phone away. Was it like a piece of shit flip phone or something?
If you recall.
No, I don't recall.
Do you recall him asking you anything about, as far as if this was the entirety of what you had provided?
Oh, so I think during the actual interview, he specifically asked me, are these, I would say in
Had
sum and
rain.
substance, he said, you know, is this an accurate representation? Has anything been deleted? And I said, no. I mean,
Yeah, or you would do
with
the trade-in program. You would trade in an old phone for the new phone.
respects to the text with the defendant,
Maybe there was some other shit that they wanted to hide and they didn't want, anyone to look at through their phone.
from the first time that she reached out to me and texted me, nothing had been deleted. As far as John's text string, we might have had older text strings that were deleted, but that was what I gave him. What I gave the troopers was exactly when I captured everything. Is exactly it is. It is what it is.
Why would the old text strings would John be deleted? Maybe because he was trying to make room on his phone, new device.
Everything that was on those phones was provided. Nothing was deleted.
And as far as when you provided these text communications to the troopers, was that something that they had asked for, or was that something that you volunteered?
I volunteered that to them.
And upon them sort of receiving them from you, did they have further questions beyond what they had already asked you based on what you provided?
I believe they got into other specific questions, specifically in relation to John O'Keefe and the defendant, as far as intimacy and things like that. There was more detailed questions that followed.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
Yes.
Recognize what those
Group is during the interview.
and the shorter one, who, if any, one is those communications with?
John O'Keefe,
And the longer one, about 56 pages long or so, who, if any, one of those communications with?
the defendant.
May I approach them?
Yes.
Almost introduce in a minute.
Okay. So we'll do them separately, please. So that the first 12-page one.
Those with it. And that, just in reference to what is the date of the first sort of exchange in these text communications between yourself and Mr. O'Keefe?
Wednesday, November 24th.
And in general, can you describe to the jury what that conversation was about on Wednesday, November 24th?
He basically, it's kind of hard to read. I apologize, but it looks like
Does he need reading glasses? Does he need a lamp there? Is it too dark?
he just reached out to me. He said, "What's up, pal? Where are we going to hang local? We are going to hang local. Are you drinking?"
So he's out. He's trying to see where you are and if you want to meet up.
Yes.
Now, sir, if I could direct your attention to the last page within those documents you have before you.
Because I would say, as a normal person, you would factory reset it and then turn your phone in, trade it up, sell it, or whatever. But as someone who's in law enforcement, maybe he knows that even if you factory reset, if there's a court order, they can still somehow get that information back on your phone. Possibly. That's what I'm thinking.
So with reference to, there's some conversation on the bottom of that last page from Sunday, January 16th. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, you had mentioned that.
Because didn't Stephen Stearns, this is a different unrelated case, but didn't Stephen Stearns say that he accidentally factory reset his phone, but weren't they still able to recover a lot of information from his phone afterwards? That's how they found all the crazy shit on there? Or was that from a different device?
With respect to Mr. O'Keefe, you had been over his house on a prior occasion to watch the Patriots game, correct?
Yes.
And when was that in relation to this date that we've been talking about as far as the 28th and the 29th? How long before?
So it was the 16th.
So
Might have been the 15th into the 16th, I believe.
that text on the 16th was either same day or the day following when you had gone over there to watch the Patriots game?
Well, with the text where I asked if I broke his nephew's toy video game would have been the next day.
Now, in reference to.
I want to Google it, but then I don't want it to look bad at my search history. I want to Google, can law enforcement recover information after you factory reset your phone? Can someone else do it? If I do it on my computer, they'll be like, oh, Corky, why are you looking this up? Huh? I see on June 1st, 2024, you're looking up this information. What were you up to, Corky? I don't know. My chat told me to do it. Hey, Lori. Welcome back, Lori. We're not in cross-examination yet, but we're getting to the text messages.
Mr. O'Keefe, you described that he was a friend of yours. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, where you used to live in Canton, where was that or how close was that in relation to where Mr. O'Keefe lived on Meadows Ave?
Not far at all. Several blocks.
Now, prior to you going over there for the Patriots game, at some point, or had you been over to his home at any previous time?
So I reached out. We had inclement weather. It might have been around the beginning of January, maybe 6th to 7th. And I shot him a text and said, do you want me to clear the driveway for you?
So using the same plow that you were talking about before, you would offer to clear out your
My searches aren't bad. It's just that if you don't know that I do true crime stuff, you would think I'm like a serial killer or something like that.
Yes.
Now, on this occasion that you go over there for the Patriots game, prior to that, had the two of you had any conversation, or had you been invited to go over there with
Oh, I did show you guys my cement flooring. I was like, oh, cement flooring, y'all.
reference to football games before?
Yes, a number of times at the hillside, I was asked, hey, we're going to watch the last half at the house. You want to come by? Things like that, yes.
And had you
You need to do a clean wipe on a storage device, which means writing data several times over it, but that assumes they haven't gotten a copy using another method. I only know this is a former cyber guy. Oh, yeah, because I hear like on your computer, when you delete things, you're not really deleting it. It's just kind of like you need new information to like overwrite the old information.
Have you ever taken Mr. O'Keefe up on any of
My
those?
searches are so random. Mine are too, exactly. That's why initially, when I was thinking about Jen McCabe's, like, how long does it take to die in the snow? I was like thinking, okay, well, I have been in some situations with my friends where we're like, let's say we're out together, it's really cold, and we're just like, oh, I wonder how long it takes if we were to freeze outside, to death. How long would it take to die in the snow? Oh, I don't know. Okay, why don't you Google it? Like, I don't know. I could totally see myself like Googling random shit like that. But again, I'm not been accused of murder. It's different when there's too many things that are linking up together. But I mean, like I said, I could totally see myself like Googling like random shit like that.
Those prior invitations to come by the house and watch?
No.
And so on this particular game, do you recall why it was that
No taxi, no.
you took him up on it this time? And went over?
Well,
Yeah, the timing, yeah.
I felt bad I had never been over there. I've been asked repeatedly. I knew it was probably going to be the last game for the season. And I had also independently got a text of an invite from John himself, and then also from the defendant independently.
Now, in reference to you thinking it was going to be the last game of the season, do you recall, like, was it a regular season game, playoff game? Who were they playing? Do you recall any of that?
I think it might have been the Bills.
Well, Nicole, you better start live streaming.
I don't know if it was the playoffs or it was just another game to me, but I knew it was probably going to be the last game.
And so if you recall that evening, about what time was it that you stopped by Mr. O'Keefe's house?
Oh, it was like just before the game ended. No.
Oh, yeah, no, because I remember, Mom, we were talking about that, about the eye drop thing. Wasn't that for like another case that happened recently where they found the person guilty?
Not long after.
So pretty far into the second half of the game by the time you arrived.
Oh, yeah.
And in addition to Mr. O'Keefe, who, if anyone else, was at the house when you left?
Nice.
I
Dave.
believe Chris Curran and his wife might have been there at one point.
Exactly, Bobby. Bobby says there's so many coincidences on both sides. That's why it's hard to figure out. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
I think maybe the wife left, but he stayed. I believe maybe Mr. Curran. I never met him before. I think they introduced him as Mr. Curran's brother, and then John's nephew. And I don't know if his niece was there. She might have been in the other room.
And the defendant, Ms. Reed, was she there as well?
Yes.
And as far as the Currans are concerned, are those people you're familiar with, and how do you know them?
Again, the hillside. I met them there, and I believe through John O'Keefe.
How well did you know them at that point?
Not very well.
Now, you mentioned that John's nephew was there. Had you ever met him before?
No.
And what, if any, interaction did you have with his nephew while you were there?
We were playing video games together.
And so the text, if I could direct your attention back to the text communications before you with Mr. O'Keefe on that last page. Specifically, there's
Oh, did John's niece and nephew already testify?
an exchange between the two of you on Sunday, January 16th, correct?
I see the text.
That's about 9:30 in the morning, is that correct?
Mr. Wiley, on this last page, which one is it? 1, 2, or 3?
About the middle of the page.
Can you repeat that again?
May I approach the witness?
Yes.
They did.
I would direct your attention to.
And that indicates about 9:33 in the morning.
I thought the tears were genuine.
Yes, I see it.
And if you could
They testified on camera. Yeah, they did under seal. Gotcha. Okay.
read from that text
But when they testified off camera, there were still people in the courtroom, right?
exchange, and if you can indicate sort of who's talking or who's saying it.
It says TF, hurting like this in 10 years. Haha. I'm not sure. I'm not sure who's saying that.
Not sure who's hurting and who's saying haha.
Well, I know I was definitely hurting that morning, but I'm not sure who was saying that.
And what, if any, other communication is there later on in the same chain?
All right, I see John. Was it necessary to introduce Hennessy XO? Was I really playing video games. That would have been me. And then it says, I blame Karen. Yup. And then I said, please tell me I didn't break your nephew's video game. If I did, I'll replace it. Did I throw a controller or some shit? And then it says, I don't think so. WTF, I'm hurting. How can you guys not be still in bed?
Is that the end of that
And then-
the conversation?
Wait, what? Was he like drunk raging and he was gaming or something and then broke the controller? What?
It appears to be, yeah. Yes.
Then the next conversation begins on what's indicated as Saturday,
Or were
12:20
they playing Fortnite?
a.m. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is it your recollection that that was January 29th?
Yes.
And is that the message that you sent to Mr. O'Keefe while you were in the residence at 34 Fairview Road?
Yes. I said, are you coming here with followed by 3 question marks?
And again, Mr. O'Keefe, based on your recollection and based on the records you have before, you never responded to that text. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And you never saw him after that, correct?
Never again, no.
And approach this
Sex at video game confirmed.
retreat, Your Honor.
Yes.
Your Honor, may we approach?
Yes. Jurors, feel free to stand up and
Feel free to stand up and stretch. All right, what are they approaching about? Got Karen's parents, John's parents.
Compensation due to issues.
Oh, is it a breaky break? Oh gosh. Okay, get up and stretch. Oh, dude, if they were playing on the SNES, I can understand the rage. Okay, SNES is so hard. We bought a little SNES thing and try to play the old school games. Yeah, infuriating. Okay, we're getting to old text messages and some Smirnoff. Disgusting. Hi, Ink. Yeah, the SNES Classic. You know how they remade it?
18 pages in length. Page number just for your reference on the side there. In general, do you recognize what those are?
Yes.
What do you recognize those to be?
Text messages
Who calls video game a toy? Not real gamers.
between the defendant and I.
Your Honor, call off the move to introduce and admit as the next exhibit.
No, not as the next exhibit. We are going to mark that 104A.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yes. 3. The full time for it.
Page number 1.
Okay, camera, show
Now,
us.
Ms. Higgins, what's up on the screen is that what you have before you as exhibit 104A?
Yes.
God, Smirnoff Ice.
And as you just mentioned, these are text messages between yourself and Ms. Reed. Is that correct?
Yes.
And on what dates did you first
It's the weed whacker. I someone texted me this. I don't know, because I feel like a weed whacker could also be a euphemism for someone that does like grooming of your private parts. You know, your what's it called? Like a bushwhacker.
receive any communication from Ms. Reed?
January 12th, 2022.
And prior to that, had you had her number, or did she have your number as far as you were aware?
No.
You had never communicated to her via cell phone or any other means prior to
What do you
January?
call those people again? You hire them to do like waxing and stuff like that.
12th, 2022.
No, I had not.
So initially, you received a text on that date from an unknown number. Is that correct?
Yes.
And from the text before you, and what's up on the screen, as far as there are gray bubbles on the left, blue bubbles on the right, which is you and which is Ms. Reed?
The blue bubbles would belong to myself.
So the other bubbles would be Ms. Reed. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And so that initial communication you received on January 12th, 2022, that's about 8:27 p.m. Is that correct?
Yes.
And what was the content of the message that you received?
2022. Okay, so a couple weeks before John O'Keefe was found dead.
You want me to read it?
No, not a landscaper. Like the other, a landscaper for private parts.
Yes, please.
The waxer.
Hey, Brian, it's Weed Whacker.
And how did you respond to that?
Question mark.
And if it's helpful to you, sir, if you can't see the screen sort of from where you are, you can read along in the exhibit before you.
Okay.
Now, as far as
Esthetician. I think that's the word I was looking for. Thanks, Aaron. It's Monday. I have
that
Monday brains
communication
right
is
now.
concerned, is the weed whacker, what, if any, meaning did that have to you? Or
So ultimately, it was based off a interaction with the defendant, kind of a nickname that she adopted.
and how did that nickname sort of come to be, or what, if anything, transpired between the two of you that led to that?
So I was leaving, I believe, my residence one day in Canton, traveling down Pleasant Street. I saw the defendant along the side of the house on the Pleasant Street side using a weed whacker.
By the way, those weed whackers you get at Home Depot or the home improvement store, they look so easy to use, but they're fucking difficult. I bought one of those, the one with the little wire with the spinny thingies. I don't know how you can hold it perfectly in a way where you don't just waste the wired plastic to the point where it's like, it's so hard to use. I hate using them, but they make it look so easy.
And I gave kind of a beep of the horn, and the defendant gave me the finger. So I realized that she clearly must not have recognized me possibly because of what I was driving. I was in my work vehicle. So I spun the vehicle around, and as I pulled up to roll down the window, she said something to the effect, "Get the fuck away from me. My husband's a Boston cop." And then I rolled down the window more, and she clearly recognized me, who I was in that vehicle.
Oh, maybe she thought that she was being catcalled.
And did that become sort of a recurring theme in subsequent conversations that you had with Ms. Reed?
Yes.
Now, sir, if I could direct your attention to page 6 within that exhibit before you.
I mean, apparently Karen apologized for the Aruba stuff and then offered to pay for that woman's like housing or her hotels and stuff like that. But do you think that she truly thought in her head that John was making out with the girl or the woman? Sorry, not the girl. That sounds weird.
They're not numbered, right, Mr. Lally?
My apologies.
It goes on the screen. From page 7.
Did you try those Smirnoff screwdrivers? I stopped at the Hilly for one last night. I said, haha, how did you get my digits? Defendant responded, the Melissa and Lito show. I said, haha, I thought you creeped John's phone. I said, haha, again.
I say haha a lot, but the way that it's autocorrected, like haha, haha, haha. Kind of funny.
Defendant responded, no way. I was the last person in Greater Canton who didn't have your number. I think even Kerry has it. I responded, what, with a bunch of question marks? I said, I just don't give my personal number out to anyone. How would Kerry have my number with a bunch of question mark? And the defendant responded, Melissa had it.
As far as in those communications, the reference the defendant makes to the Melissa and Lito show, do you know what that means?
The two individuals that I also know from the hillside.
And the Kerry person that she refers to, do you know who that is?
I believe that's Kerry Curran, Chris Curran's wife.
Also, don't give someone's phone number out without their permission. Weird.
Now, if I could direct your attention to page 9. And it's going to page 9.
All right, page 9, y'all. Turn your pages to page 9. Everyone, you got your pages ready? Page 9. Page 9, everyone.
From page 9, as far as that conversation goes, it just indicates whom is speaking at different points.
Okay, so the defendant said, I prefer a weed whacker. I responded, that's the thing about nicknames. Defendant said, we were tossing around the idea of a short vacay with the current show, wanted to see if you were game. I responded, you don't have a say. I believe I was referring to nicknames. And I said, vacation where? Defendant responded, I know. They need to happen organically. I'm the queen of nicknames. Was just going to rent a beach house in, I believe it was supposed to say Fort Lauderdale. It's abbreviated. Something quick and easy. I said, Defendant responded, I'm the queen of vacays too. Always a good time. I responded, I'm going to Nashville next month, 19th to 21st for a benefit. One of our guys got shot in the head. You guys should come.
And as far as either one of those strips that you were discussing, do you recall any further discussion or any going on any of those strips?
Sorry, I was laughing at what Karen was reading, and then when Brian Higgins read his text out loud, I was like, oh God, this laughing is, the timing is not good.
Well, I mean, I definitely went to Nashville for that benefit for one of my coworkers. There may have been more conversation about the Florida trip, but I can't specifically recall it.
Now, sir, if I could direct your attention to page 16, Ms. Gilman, if I could have that. And this is on that same date of January 13th, is that correct?
I believe so. The date's not at the top here, but I believe it is.
And again, sir, if you could read from that page.
Wait, why can't we get the text before? Oh my God, we need context for this.
Communication as far as who's speaking and what was said.
So there's a photograph of somebody with a weed whacker. The defendant said, no, you're not.
Or is this a continuation? Is this a continuation? I like seeing the previous text above just so I know what was above it. You know what I mean? Like if it's a continuation, it helps to see the previous text.
A creep.
You know that.
I said, nope. She said, you're kind of a loner, which I used to be. I responded, no, not really. I have a ton of buddies, but I only let a handful of friends in that I'm tight with. So you think you got me figured out? And then I typed circle of trust in quotes.
And sir, if I could direct your attention to the next page, number 17.
I guess it would make sense though. They're because he's talking about the nicknames. He's like, you don't have a say. And then I don't know who texted that picture of the weed whacker.
Ms. Gilman, if I could have that.
Oh God, we have a lot of this.
And again, sir, if you could read from page 17 as far as what is said and who is talking.
So the defendant said, yeah, I said loner, not loser. I assume you know a lot of people, PPL, people abbreviated. You never really can figure anyone out completely. Your dad died when you were young, and I responded, he died in March of 2020. I'm so not a loser. You won't figure me out, LOL. Defendant responded, no one is a loser. I just didn't mean loner to imply friendless. I'm sorry that's recent. It wasn't COVID, was it? I responded, cancer. Defendant responded, I know you date girls who don't lock the house behind them, and you are private and observant. I'm sorry, what kind? I responded, lung, brain, kidney, and pelvis. How do you know all these things, LOL?
I'd like to turn your attention to the next page, 18.
I feel like she's trying to bond with him, and he's just like kind of like answering straight up. Okay.
Again, sir, if you could read from that.
In the blue bubbles is me. I said, you're funny. Defendant responded, yikes, wow, that's rough. Jesus, I'm sorry. We chat a lot at the hillside. I responded, don't be sorry. Life is hard sometimes. I always figure it out. Then I said, who chats? ? Defendant responded, life is hard, but losing people is the hardest. So I'm sorry. We chat. I responded, that's all you got? We chat? Sure, you're from Brockton. Spit it out. Defendant responded, you and I chatted about the girl who kept forgetting to lock the door. I said, oh, she has been out of play like for 3 months now. And then I believe it starts to say out of rotation, ?
And then, sir, if I could direct your attention to page 20. And again,
I believe he really liked her. If he was good friends with John, he would have told him all about these texts with Karen. She wants the D, but he's a little thick. Can't seem to get it. Or I mean, like she's like your friend's girl. You know, it's just kind of like okay, I'll have a conversation with you, but you know, I'm not trying to do anything with you. We'll see. We'll see where this goes.
sir, if you could read from that.
I'm in the blue bubbles again. I said, I just got a Saturday invite. The defendant said, did you say yes? ? I said, not yet, with a bunch of periods, but did respond. Defendant said, what did you say, Mr. Elusive? I responded, no, I just don't want to intrude on your couple's night. Haha, I'm shy. The defendant responded, we prefer to hang out with non-couples. Bob Gallery is probably coming too, solo. We'll probably do cards or something at some point. I'm inviting you. And I said, haha.
Now, sir, is that the Saturday night that's being referenced there? Is that the same night that you had gone over to the home at some point for the Patriots game?
Yes.
And if I
Like the impression that I'm getting right now is like she's like, you know, getting to know him. She's like inviting him to stuff. He's like not really responding to like the Fort Lauderdale thing. I think he mentioned like, oh, you know, oh no, he invited her to like another cop event, which is like, it doesn't sound like a close gathering of like vacation or anything like that. It just seems like, oh, here's like a general public event that I'm going to, if you guys want to come. I don't know. I feel like it seems like he's trying to distance himself from her maybe. And like,
could direct your attention to the next page, page 21.
because instead of saying like, okay, I'll come, he just writes, haha. Let me
Yes.
see what he
And
say.
again, if you could read from that.
The defendant said, John said Brian's being wishy-washy now, in quotes. I responded, haha, did you tell him you texted me? The defendant responded, no. And then I gave a thumbs up. Then I said, you cranky now, ? Defendant said, haha, no, just stop being so anti-couples. Most couples don't even like each other. I said, name a few. Defendant said, name a few? I don't know. All of them. ? They all want to hang out with single people.
Well, I mean, I think single people are fun to hang out with too.
And then I said,
Thank you. Sir, if I could direct your attention to page 26.
She's giving him hints. She's definitely engaging him. She's flirting. Yeah, I see more. Okay, whoa, what is this?
And sir, if I could ask you to read from that page.
in blue is going to be myself again. Foul ball. Defendant responded, you stink. I said, you suck and you're double trouble. Defendant responded, you're hot. I responded, are you serious or messing with me? Defendant responded, no, I'm serious. I responded, failing is mutual.
Oh, he's like, oh, wait, actually, she is interested in me. Huh. ...
Is that bad? How long have you thought that? Defendant
How long have you thought that?
responded, are you okay driving? You don't want to stay here. I responded back, I'm fine. I have an office at the PD. You didn't answer the question. And then it starts to say, defendant said, rather you stay here.
And is that, to your memory, when is that text exchange taking place? In reference to the night that you went over to the Oakie's house.
I believe it was that night.
Now, at Mr. Oakie's house on that particular evening.
Yeah, because I think he was
recall
trying to
which-
keep a distance. Like, okay, you're my friend's girl. Let's keep a distance. But then it's like, wait, she's interested. I'm a little intrigued.
You came into the house.
I believe it might have been the front door.
And if you know about how long were you at Mr. O'Keefe's house that night?
I was probably one of the last people to leave, I think.
And what, if anything, happened as you were exiting from Mr. O'Keefe's house that night?
So as I was exiting the house, it was either through the breezeway or the garage. And as we were walking out, the defendant planted a kiss on me.
Now, before
A kiss of what now? I think he just thought she was out of his league, possibly.
One of the last people to leave, I think.
and what, if anything, happened as you were exiting from Mr. O'Keefe's house that night?
Oh my god. It was at John's house too? Oh boy.
Mr. O'Keefe's house on that particular evening.
Wait. Okay. Where did she plant the kiss? Was it on the cheeky or was it elsewhere?
Do you recall how you came into the house?
I believe it might have been the front door.
And if you know about how long were you at Mr. O'Keefe's house that night?
I was probably one of the last people to leave, I think.
And what, if anything, happened as you were
Doesn't John have security surveillance at his house?
exiting from Mr. O'Keefe's house that night?
So as I was exiting the house, it was either through the breezeway or the garage. And as we were walking out, the defendant.
Oh, hold on. He was exiting through the breezeway of the garage. Maybe you wouldn't be able to see it. I don't know. That's a little risky.
Planted a kiss on me.
Now, before you went out that way, where was Mr. O'Keefe? Did you say goodbye to him or anything like that?
I think I said goodbye to him. He might have been in the bathroom. I'm not 100% positive where he was.
Oh my god.
And when
so
you went to
sneaky.
leave, which exit from the house were you headed to initially?
Well, as I said, I don't remember exactly if it was the breezeway or the garage. I was starting to.
I had a married guy come at me like that once. Aaron says, I liked him. I talked to him, but refused to engage. He said he was leaving his wife. I didn't engage. Told him to contact me when he was single. Yes, because he was probably just trying to test the waters. Like, don't want to leave my wife yet, but I want to see how it is if I try dating other people. Hi, Panda Boy. How are you doing today? How's it going? Ooh, spicy.
Walk through, but whichever way I started to exit, the defendant told me to go a different way.
And which way did the defendant tell you to go?
Oh, so he can hide from the cameras?
Her way. I honestly can't tell you which door that was. If it was either the breezeway or the garage.
And as you were going out, again, I'm sorry, what happened?
The defendant kissed me,
And how did she kiss you?
not like a friend.
Lip to lip, is that fair to say?
Yes,
Like a romantic kiss?
that's the way I interpreted it.
And were you still inside the house at the time that this occurred, or were you outside the house, if you know?
Not sure if we had just got to the outside or not. It might have. I'm not sure if it was close proximity to leaving.
And what was your reaction to that?
I was taken back.
Was that something that you were expecting?
No.
And about how long was it between when the defendant kissed you and when you left?
Well, almost immediately.
Now, sir,
Did you tell John?
if I could turn your attention back to the exhibit before you on page number 27.
Yes.
Again, sir, if you could read from that page and who's speaking.
So I'm in the blue bubbles, and I said, I think you're messing with me. The defendant said, why do you think that? I responded, because this is so out of left field.
Wait, why did Lolly? This is a continuation of the text before. Why did we just continue the text messages? Oh my God, Mr. Lolly, what are we doing?
Where did these feelings come from? Defendant responded, I just think you're like me. I said, meaning? Question mark. Defendant said, do you have your own kids? I said, I have no kids. How am I like you? Question mark. Hello?
Happy Shiro Saturday, all corgis balloon, corgis balloon, corgis balloon.
Corgis balloon. Joe, thank you so much for the 33 month sub on Twitch. Thank you so much for the support. Cheryl's here's hanging out with me. He's right here. Yeah, I don't like how Lolly does things. It's a little bit all over the place. Because the kiss was in between the texts. It was? I thought when he said, because this is so out of left field, was his response to her saying he's hot. Shit, did I miss the beginning? Did I miss the middle part?
And defendant responded,
What do I use to get dog hair out of furniture? Nothing. Just don't have a dark couch. Well, it depends on what color hair your pet is. So if you have like a black-haired cat, don't have a white couch. If you have a light-colored pet like me, I have a white couch. And then I just use a vacuum to vacuum it. We have like a little handheld Dyson thing. Yeah. Or actually, you know what I used to do? I would buy a giant blanket and just put it on top of the couch. But I took it off.
aren't we alike? I responded, I think so. So why did you get my number and reach out to me? And I think the defendant put a question mark on that bubble, I believe. Or I
Hi,
might- I don't know.
Gemini.
Now, that conversation, as far as
Yeah, because I think like at this point, I don't think he was trying to get with her. I think he was just confused and he's just like, what the fuck? But since she, she kind of peeled his ego a little bit by saying, I think you're hot, he kind of suckered in and gave in a little bit.
You asking her about...
Yes, pre-plan your furniture and pet pairings. Yes, just like the floorings that I have. They are light floorings. They're light colored floorings now, so I won't see a lot of dog hair. I wanted to get like a nice, beautiful medium brown. Like I like walnut wood flooring, like the look of it, or like chestnut brown. But yeah, you would see dog hair everywhere.
Why she reached out to you? How often was that question asked by you through the course of these text communications?
Well, the extent of the actual communication via text between the defendant and I was between January 12th and January 29th when John passed. On the 28th and 29th, the 28th, I sent a text, as we spoke about before when we were at the waterfall. That text didn't respond. There was a text sent by the defendant to me the next day. So in that time period between the 12th and the 29th, there was 9 days that the defendant and I exchanged text messages. With that being said, those text messages, I don't believe, were every day, consecutive days. There was 9 days in between the 12th and the 29th.
And so as far as that questioning, as far as posing to her, why did she reach out to you? Was that something that you asked once or more than once?
Yeah, I asked it more than once. And during the pendency of this communication, I was basically trying to suss out what the intentions were of the defendant. Was the defendant interested in me? Was she at the end of her relationship with John? Was she trying to weaponize me against John and put me in the middle? There was numerous things that were going on.
Hello? Hey, I don't know what happened. Hello? Oh gosh. Wait, type 1 in chat if you can. No. Oh god. Oh.
And that's what I was trying to vet out, or suss out, or whatever you want to call it. But I was having a hard time accepting what was happening.
Sir, if I could direct you to the next page, page 28.
Okay, that makes sense. I thought you were going to go with the bare cement. So the bare cement looked really nice in the entryway, but in the living room, they previously put some sort of like under layer thing, this like black thing, and you would have to scrape it off or something like that. You were sussing shit.
And again, sir, if you could read from that page.
So I'm in the blue bubbles. Shoot straight with me. Defendant responded, I told you, I just think we're alike, right? Couple question marks.
Yes, agree. Now what?
Responded, yes, agree. Now what? Defendant responded, I don't know. I said, shouldn't you know? Defendant responded, do you like me? I said, yes, from jump. Defendant said, when was jump? I said, first time I saw you. Defendant responded, when was that? I said,
Yeah, like he's interested, but he just doesn't know where she's at with her relationship with John. But I'm saying like he's also friends with John. Ask John, like, hey, so John, how's your relationship with Karen? You guys doing okay? Like, are you thinking about getting married anytime soon? Having your own kids? Like,
side for your sure.
If I could direct your attention to the next page, 29. If I could ask you to read from that, sir.
So again, I'm in the blue bubbles. Hillside for sure. When were you interested? Defendant responded, I don't know, you're just my type. I responded, you think you can handle me? I thought you were happy, question mark. Defendant responded, how do you know if I'm happy? I said, I just assumed.
Because if you're in a relationship with someone, you're going to assume that they're happy, right? Why be in a relationship with someone if you're not happy?
Defendant responded, are you hard to handle?
Unless, if you guys have kids together or stuff like that, that's a really tough one.
I may have put a question mark. Then I said, what do you like about me? Defendant responded, I just feel like you're from my neighborhood. I said, yes, yeah, ditto. Defendant responded, and I think you're hot.
And if I could direct your attention to the next page, page 30.
I don't know. If, like, say someone was flirting with you and all they could say was, I think you're hot. I think you're hot. I think you're hot. I feel like those aren't really, like, deep feelings. Those are just like, oh, you're just attracted. Okay. And that's the only reason why you're attracted to me because you think I'm hot.
If I could ask you to read from that, sir.
Or maybe she was just trying to use him to make John O'Keefe mad or something like that. I don't know.
I'm in the blue bubbles again. You really think that? I have always thought that about you. Defendant responded, what? I responded that you're hot, smart, witty, but I didn't think you were interested. Defendant responded, witty.
Well, yeah, because she was in a relationship. Oh my God, this is going south real quick.
I responded, yeah, meaning quick with a response. Tell me why you got my number and reached out to me. Defendant responded, just thought we were the same / from the same neighborhood. I responded, are you afraid to say what's on your mind? What's in your mind? And then I said, on. Defendant responded, no, didn't I? No, didn't I? Question mark.
Oh God, he's kind of scary.
Sir, if I can turn your attention, to the next page, 31, and ask you
I
to read
think she's playing coy, and he's like, just be straight up.
from that.
I'm glad I'm in the blue bubble again. I'm glad I stopped by. I should have come earlier. Do you really live in Mansfield? Defendant responded, yeah. I was basically begging you. I responded, you don't have to beg me. I meant to say beg. Defendant responded, huh? I said, I will give you what you want. How are you texting right now? And I said,
Wait, bed and beg? I mean, D and G aren't even like, are they even close to each other? Oh, fine. They're 2 letters away from each other. Maybe.
leaving me hanging. Defendant responded, no. I typed kids and then kinda. Defendant responded, how am I texting? And I began to say, is everyone asleep?
As far as the communication from the defendant indicating, yeah, I was basically begging you, what did you take that to mean?
That she wanted me to come over?
And if I could turn your attention to the next page, 32. If I could ask you to read from that page as well.
So it starts off with the defendant saying, I just wide awake on my phone. Yes, they are. I said, I should have stayed, LOL. So now what? Question mark.
Oh no, I don't think she expected this. I don't think she expected him to go from like 0 to 60. She probably just thought that they were just gonna do some flirtations back and forth, you know. But he's like, okay, now what? Now what? Now what? You're gonna leave John or what? Are we gonna fuck or what? Oh,
Defendant said,
God.
yes, you should have. I responded, that would have been distracting. So now what? So no, what? And then I said, now. Defendant said, now what? Question mark. I responded, balls in your court. Defendant said, what do you want? I responded, loaded question. What do you want? Question mark. Defendant responded, I asked you, exclamation point. I in turn said, nope, you initiated this.
Yeah, so I think she wanted to just play around with him, but he's like, okay, let's go.
If I could turn your attention to the next page, 33. If I could ask you to read from that, sir.
I said, spit it out. I'm in the blue bubbles. Defendant said, hey, we're single and we don't have kids. We can do whatever we want.
Oh. I wonder if this is where she's like thinking of leaving John, or maybe she's so mad about Aruba or something else popped up.
I responded, don't you have a boyfriend? Question mark. Defendant responded, where are you? Question mark. I said, Canton. Defendant said, where? Question mark. I responded, my office is at the PD. Why? Why? Are you going to Mansfield? Question mark. Defendant responded, where is that? I said, Canton PD. Defendant said, I have a house there from before I reconnected W. John. I responded, oh, I feel like you're not really saying what's on your mind.
Yeah, because I think she was just trying to fuck with him, and then he's like, let's get it on
If I
then.
could turn your attention
Let's
to
do
the
it.
next page, 34, and ask you to read from that, sir.
But it is weird that he would say, don't you have a boyfriend? Wouldn't it just be like, aren't you you're in a relationship with John, obviously. Oh, God. Okay, let me exit out.
Defendant starts off and says, do you like me? Question
believe-
mark. I responded, yes, clearly. Defendant said, come over my house. I responded, when? Question mark. Defendant said, when works for you? I said, whoever, and then whenever. When works for you? Question mark. The defendant said, I asked you first. I responded, I think you're messing with me. Defendant said, I'm glad you came over tonight.
Okay. Sorry, I think I grilled Mr. Lolly over. So I guess the text exchange did happen after the him going over there in person. I thought the text continued from what she was saying about like, oh, you're hot, and then Mr. Lolly continued the text messages.
With some type of face. I responded, me too, balls in your court. What do you want, Karen? You look great tonight.
If I could direct your attention to the next page, 35, and the last, or second to last blue bubble down the bottom, starting with, are you glad? Do you see that?
Page 35?
Yes.
And where is it again?
Second to last blue bubble, starting with, are you glad?
Yes. I said, I'm in the blue bubble. I said, are you glad you walked me out? Question mark.
And what did she respond?
Defendant said, yes, with like semicolon, some type of a mark there. Are you?
Smiley
Question
face.
mark. And I said,
Parentheses, sir?
DEF for definitely.
And if I could direct your attention to the next page, 36. And if you could, please read from that.
So at the top, I'm in the blue bubbles. It says yes. And then I said, are you going home tonight or tomorrow AM? Defendant texted, we kissed, comma, right? Question mark. So then I put a question mark on her question and said, is this a trick question? Defendant said, I don't know when I'm going home. I'm selling my house, with what I think is a smiley face. What a trick question, and a couple of question marks. I responded, are you moving to Canton? I'm following your lead with this. Defendant responded, I live here, but I have property in Mfield. I'm guessing it's Medfield. Defendant said, why my lead? I don't want any responsibility. I responded, you started this, right? Question mark. Why did you get my number? And it says each out to me. It meant to say reach out to me. I then said, still have not told me.
Because you're hot.
And sir, if I could
You're hot, Brian. Accepted. You're hot.
direct your attention to the next page 37 and ask you to read from that.
Defendant said, sorry, should I not have? I responded, I'm fine with it. Just don't know why you can't answer. Defendant said, you're mad at me? I said, OMG, no, not at all. You're being silly. Defendant said, I told you, exclamation point. I just think you like me and I'm attracted to you. And then she said, a lot. I responded, feeling is mutual. I just never saw this coming. Defendant said, why? Question mark. I responded, because I just assumed you were happy with your situation. Defendant responded, I was, but things have deteriorated.
And if I could direct your attention to the next page 38.
I wonder if this was the only guy she was texting, or there was other guys that she was texting at the same time as well, just to, like, you know, test the waters. Like, okay, well, if I were not to be with John O'Keefe anymore, let's see how other guys are feeling out there.
And ask you to read from that, sir.
I said, why? Question mark. How so? Question mark. What did Melissa say when you asked for my number? Question mark. Defendant responded, it is very, very complicated. He and I dated when we were kids, and then his sister died and everything got fucked up. I responded, he seems very into you. Defendant responded, I just told Melissa that I had your number but lost it. I said, that's cute. She
Sneaky.
wasn't suspicious? Question mark. Defendant responded, no, she's great. I responded, does she know you like me? Question mark. Defendant responded, she's a sweetie. We just agreed. You are great. With another smiley type face.
And sir, if I could direct your attention to page 40 and ask you to read from that.
Hi, beautiful messy ball. How are you doing today? Oh, an exclusive. Wait, you're there right now, right? Hello, hello. Oh, God, we have a lot of care. Oh, wait, did you take a picture with her? Oh, God, White Claw. Enjoy the White Claw. Did you get to take a picture with her?
Defendant said, yeah, but where is that? I have had all my shit here for a couple years and my house has been vacant, but I'd like to get closer to the water. I responded, are you breaking up or staying together? Defendant responded, I don't know. He hooked up with another girl on vacation.
So her apologizing and her offering to pay for the room and stuff like that, she probably just did it just to, like, maybe save face. But it seems like she really believed that he hooked up with another girl, or maybe kissed her, or maybe this is a different girl.
I'm very close to his niece. It is a very fucked up situation. I responded, when was that and how did you find out he hooked up? Question mark. I don't want to complicate your situation. Defendant responded, we went away for New Year's, the four of us. I put the kids to bed and found him in the lobby of our hotel all over one
Okay, it's the same girl.
of our friend. Whatever, it doesn't matter. I responded, it does matter.
What was her name again? Marietta or something?
Now, as far as that indication that she made to you, either through text communications or in person, did she indicate at any point in time where that occurred?
So there was an occasion that the defendant stopped at my house. And again, the conversation that took place at my house was in relation to, again, sussing out and trying to figure out if this was everything that I stated before. Like, was this legitimate? Was she seriously interested in me? Was she at the end of her relationship with John? And during that, there was touch on that topic, and I became to realize, it was my understanding at that point that this incident took.
Hey, Min, how are you doing today? Erin says, yeah, it's cringe. She seems like she's toying with him. He's hesitant, but interested, but also confused, probably concerned about John and trying to figure out what to do, and probably lonely.
Place in Aruba on New Year's Eve, based off the text messages and the conversation at my residence.
This was something that she brought up not only in the text communications with you, but in person in communication with you as well.
Yes, I mean, outside of being over there for the game, there was only one time that the defendant and I ever interacted on a one-on-one basis.
If I could direct your attention to the next page 41 and ask you to read from that.
Why are you talking shit about Joe, bleep, huh? I hate these games people play. Yeah, dude. Going back to the dating scene would be like, let's just be straightforward, but at the same time, not creepy. Can you do that? Balance it.
So I'm in the blue bubbles, and I said, did they bang? Question mark. The defendant responded, does that matter? Question mark. I said, sorry, I was just asking. I was just trying to figure shit out. Defendant responded, it doesn't really matter. I said, okay, I won't ask again. Defendant said, I don't care, with a smiley face. It doesn't matter. I responded back, okay, hear you loud and clear, Karen. Defendant responded, okay. I responded, why are you getting your thing all twisted up over simple questions? Then
Why are you getting your thong all twisted? Oh my God. I've heard of people say something about, like, panties being in a bunch, but, like, I've never heard someone say getting your thong all twisted. Guys, don't get your thong all twisted, okay? Careful, you may get a UTI.
type thong. Defendant responded, I'm not. I am, question mark. I responded, you're kind of getting defensive. Defendant responded, not at all, with an exclamation point.
Thank you, sir. If I could direct your attention to page 46.
I think she wanted someone to vent to, and I think she wanted someone to flirt with, but not with someone who is like very abrasive and direct like he is.
Ask you to read from that.
Defendant is in gray. She said, "We did kiss earlier, comma, no," with an exclamation point. I responded in blue bubble, "I think you initiated that, no, question mark." Defendant said, "Yup. Do I owe you an apology, question mark." I said, "OMG, no. Why are you being
Why
sensitive?"
are you being sensitive? Oh God. She's like, I'm not into you anymore. Bye.
Defendant responded, "I'm not." I responded, "Kinda." There's a P and a FFT, never, responded by the defendant. "What do you want from me, question mark?" I responded, "What's on the table, question mark?" Defendant said, "What do you want ideally, question mark?" I responded, "The real deal." Defendant responded, "It doesn't exist."
Thank you, sir.
Oh my God. This is low key a little bit funny because I think she just wanted to flirt and vent.
I can direct your attention to page 57, sir. And ask you to read from that.
To the Cape. Defendant responded, which
Oh,
said,
sorry.
"I can go to any base, but usually Hanscom and Bedford are down to the Cape." Defendant responded, "Which base down the Cape? Which branch?" I said, "Army's Army." Defendant said, "I'm not abnormally sensitive." I responded, "Joint Base Cape Cod. I won't be so hard on you." Defendant responded, "OMG, you're not. You called me trouble. That makes me sound bad." I
I mean,
responded, "I was just playing with you." Defendant responded, "You weren't, but that's okay." I responded, "Stop being sensitive, please." Defendant responded, "I'm not."
Now, sir, in reference, in that page of text communications, you made reference to a base down the Cape, is that right?
Yes.
And where is that in relation to where you live in Barnstable County?
So I can utilize one of the gates to get onto the base. I can get fuel. I can shop. I then can hit the Bourne Bridge, and I would use that as a cut through at the time when I was splitting my time between two different properties.
Is there also like a duty-free shop there?
There is, yes.
And some
right? I don't know. I'd be like, oh, the real deal doesn't exist. Okay, bye.
point throughout the course of the text communications did you offer to pick something up for the defendant from that shop?
I believe so.
If I could direct your attention to page 60. And ask you to read from that, sir.
Defendant said, "I don't know, question mark. It's an old colonial. It has a lot of bedrooms," with kind of an emoji. I responded, more than you clearly need. Are you moving to Canton, question mark. Defendant said, "I know, seriously. Some rooms I only go into dust. Not anytime soon. I'm there most of the time, but sometimes it's a lot." I responded, "A lot, why, question mark." Defendant responded, I then said, "Do you even know what you want, question mark, or who, question mark." Defendant responded, "Because I went from being solo to trying to give attention to kids who aren't mine, and I never wanted kids." I responded, I thought you were in this happy relationship." Defendant responded, "Everyone is happy at the hillside."
If I could direct your attention to the next page, 61, and ask you to read from that.
So it starts off with the defendant. It said, "Everyone is happy at the hillside, exclamation point." I responded, "Oh God, you avoid
Oh, okay.
things." Defendant responded, "It's just very, very complicated dynamic with the four of us. He isn't cut out for what he's doing, and the kids present constant issues." I responded, "I think he believes he is doing the right thing." Defendant responded, "Well, of course he is, but his heart isn't in it. It's only because he was very, very close to his sister." I responded back, "I know how you feel, kinda. I was married, and when I met her, she had a 2.5-year-old. I went from being single to being a dad. It's hard." Then I said, "I'm divorced since 2017 and have no kids."
If I could ask you to turn to the next page, 62, and ask you to read from that, sir.
We haven't gotten to Carpe Diem yet, Lori.
I said, "I'm divorced since 2017 and I have no kids." Defendant responded, "I try very hard, but they are very spoiled, and they're not my family. My parents keep telling me I'd feel differently if they were mine or my own sisters. Then I told you he got drunk and sloppy on NYE while we were away, and that has really affected me." I responded, "What did he exactly do, question mark." Defendant responded, "I never got married, and now somehow I'm arguing someone about raising kids with an emoji." I responded, "Why don't you tell me, question mark." Defendant responded, "He was a puddle all day and then disappeared. Then I found him all over our friend's sister in the lobby of our hotel, and she's gross, which I think may actually be worse. Not sure." I responded, "Oh God, did they bang?"
And ask you to turn to the next page,
trying to
sir,
get
page
the deeds from
63,
them.
and read from that.
I'm in the blue. I said, "Did they bang, question mark." Defendant said, so I was the kids celebrating New Year's, I think it's without him, which shouldn't be my role. No, I doubt it. He was a mess." I said, "Was it the first time with her, or do you think there were others?" Defendant responded, "I don't really think there were others. I'm with him all the time. He never seems to want to go anywhere without me. But honestly, the issues with the kids bother me more than him actually cheating. They are constant, and it feels like a lose-lose. I responded, you clearly have a lot of feelings swirling inside you. The defendant responded, yeah, it's very complicated. Sorry for the rant. I responded, or began to respond, you can vent, babe.
I'd like to turn your attention to the next page.
Oh God,
64.
already giving nicknames.
Defendant said,
I know, right? Did they bang?
basically, I just feel like I spread myself too thin, and sometimes it's thankless. I responded, Defendant responded, you probably felt that way too.
I mean, remember, Jen McCabe said that Carrie said that Karen Reed was just a glorified babysitter with benefits or something like that. That's what Jen McCabe said.
I responded, I did at times. It was one, not two, thankfully. Defendant responded, want to grab a drink, question mark. I responded, if you gave me some notice, I could have. Defendant responded, you in capital letters said you were adaptable. I responded, I am, but I have my work truck with me and not my personal. Do you get angry when you don't get your way? Defendant responded, that sounds like an excuse. I rarely get my way.
Now, as far as her invitation, is that something that occurred on one time or more than one time?
I believe it was more than one time.
And at any point in time, other than the two you've already recounted as far as going over to Mr. O'Keefe's for the football game or the defendant stopping by your apartment
I don't know. It seems like he's trying to dig for some tea.
West Roxbury, were there any other occasions you went out over the defendant's house or out with the defendant by yourself?
No, never.
And sir, if I could direct your attention to page 74. As you read from that.
Now what?
Defendant said, are you single, question mark. I responded, yes. Defendant said, I don't think it's out of left field. Wasn't I already begging you to come over last Saturday? Question mark, question mark. I responded, you getting my number from Melissa and reaching out to me? Question mark. Defendant said, and on vacay and probably a few other occasions. I responded, it should say you didn't really beg. Defendant said, I asked at least twice. How do people usually reach out to each other? Question mark, question mark. I responded, why would I have thought you had any interest in me? Question mark. Usually do it when they do live with, do it when they do live with someone. And then I said, do not do it. Defendant responded, maybe, maybe not.
Thank you, sir. If I could direct you to page 77. And I should read from that, sir.
I said,
I'm younger than these people and I'm too old for this BS drama. I know this is like some teens or like early 20s shit, man. Like, I don't know. This is like too much. In your 40s, like it's too much drama.
I could go on and on, but I do not want to pump. I should say your shit up too much. Defendant responded, thanks for saying that, but low comps at the hillside. I responded, you know how to ruin something nice. I frequent other places. The defendant responded, John has showed me about 5 times the ring video of me walking you out on Saturday, and my voice and my accent are killing me softly.
See, I went. Oh my God. I feel like she did it on purpose then. Because I was like, wait, did she make sure that the camera wasn't looking? Did she make him go out a different exit so the camera wouldn't see her kissing him? Oh no. No, I really think she did it on purpose so John would see the ring. I mean, but why would John be looking at his surveillance unless she brought it up somehow? Unless she made him, unless she like somehow implanted into John's mind, like, oh, maybe you should look at the surveillance. Brian Higgins said something weird to me last night or something like that. Oh no. And oh my God, no. Because she just brings it up casually. And he's like, what the fuck? Like, what? Jesus. And he's like, and she's like, yeah, I mean, he has cameras everywhere. Duh. Oh, God. She was just trying to use him. Oh, no.
With an emoji of somebody throwing up. I responded, what? Defendant responded, yeah, he has cameras everywhere, you cops, with another emoji. I responded, Jesus. Defendant said, he's like Christ. Are you guys hooking up? Question mark, question mark. And I said, OMG, great.
If I could turn your attention to the next page, 78, sir.
Dude, he's like, what did you drag me into?
I responded, I don't need drama, dude. Defendant said, no, it's fine. I responded, seriously? Defendant said, I'm serious with an exclamation point. I said, you legit planted one on me.
Oh, okay. I thought he would be like, I don't know, maybe a little bit dumb-brained and be like, oh my God, there's cameras. But just like the sense that I'm getting, it feels like she did it on purpose. And that's how he feels as well. Okay.
Defendant responded, I know where the cameras are anyway, duh. And then it was OMG Bruins with an emoji after that. I responded, so your slick move isn't on there with some question marks? Defendant responded, course not.
Then why would John say, are you guys hooking up?
I responded, oh my God. And then I said, I almost, an emoji with somebody throwing up. Defendant responded, it was a peck anyway. I kissed Kerry and gay Jeff too. I responded, yeah, weak. I agree.
Now, as far as cameras at Mr. O'Keefe's house, is that something that you were aware was there prior to that conversation with the defendant?
She left a post-it note. Do not look at the camera. 11:49 p.m. from last Tuesday on the computer. We're joking, right? We're joking, right?
No, not that I recall.
If I could turn your attention to the next page, 79.
Oh no.
Can I ask you to read from that, sir?
Defendant said, LOL, funny.
All of us could think when she said, when they said, did they, hold on, I didn't read that correctly. All I could think of when they said, did they bang, was William Hung. She bang, she bang.
I responded, so now he is jealous of me, question mark. Defendant said, no, with an exclamation. I told you, he likes you a lot. I said, which makes this worse, question mark. Defendant said, you said or did something at the bar last week, and he goes, I like Brian more and more. I responded, I think he's a good dude too. Defendant responded, yeah, he is. I responded, funny. What's your end game? What do you want from me? You will just confuse the shit out of yourself because I'm a lot of fun.
Now, sir, the he
Yeah, there was a gay Jeff and a straight Jeff at the party.
that you're referring to in
Gotta
those text communications,
differentiate.
was that just for clarity?
John O'Keefe.
And if I could direct your attention to page 84.
How was the cross-examination of this witness?
And ask you to read from that page, sir.
Oh my God, I feel so bad for his family members.
A2 with a couple of exclamation points and then some type of emoji. I said, and kick my nuts in. Defendant said, OMG, how? I responded, if I had more notice, I would have grabbed a drink somewhere, so I'm all set with, that's, and then I said, in quotations, that's fine, but I am not asking again. Defendant said, well, it was 7 p.m. and I'm super cool, so right now I'm asking again with some type of a, I think it's a smiley face. I responded, coming to your house would have been bad for the both of us. For starters, you wouldn't have wanted me to leave. The defendant responded, now equals not. That sounds good. I responded, that's trouble. Defendant said, why, question mark.
And if I could direct your attention to page 90.
Good cross, pretty rough,
Ask you to read from that, sir.
very confrontational on both
9-0?
sides.
90, yes.
The defendant said, no, I'm busting your chops. It's okay. I responded, no, you are sensitive. Nice try. You don't think if I came over for a drink, we would have gotten carried away. Defendant said, you in capital letters said you were adaptable and tons of fun. I took that as an invite for an invite. And I responded, oh, okay. Defendant responded, I'm 42. I know what happens when you invite someone over for a drink. I responded, you're the master of avoidance, so you think I would just give it, meant to say give it up. Defendant responded, I've been a lot in my life. I have a little bit of cop DM mindset, and then said, been through.
Okay, seize the
And if I could
day.
direct you to the next page, 91, sir.
Defendant said, what am I avoiding, question mark. I'm not afraid to be direct. I responded, some of my questions. Defendant responded, okay, which? Ask again. I said, nope, tricks are for kids. Defendant responded, I'm pretty sure we would have hooked up. I responded, okay. Defendant said, I can't say that, question mark. I said, of course you can. Defendant said, did I miss any other questions, sir, question mark. Probably, are you having a drink right now, question mark. Defendant said, yeah, on my second. I said, show me what you got.
And if I could direct your attention to page 99.
Cross is so much fun. Can't stand the
Ask you to read
attorneys.
from that, sir.
Defendant said, none of that is true, exclamation point. I'm not talking to other guys, and I have issues with John, and things are far from perfect. You just happen to know about him, BC, I guess, because we all hang out at the same bar. I'm sure you
So I
talk.
feel like the reason why she's talking to him is because he's sort of friends with John, and what would hurt John more than anything? His girl leaving him for his friend. Oh, God. I tried to play Destiny, but I didn't like it. I don't know. People say Destiny 2 is fun, but I don't know.
Talk to other girls. That's what single people do. I'm not married, neither are you, neither is John. I responded, was that your attempt at a lecture or deductive reasoning, question mark? What do you want from me, question mark? Defendant said, that's just how I think / feel. You don't need to approve. I've already answered that last question a couple of times, I think. I responded, I'm not judging you, never have, never will. Defendant responded, you shouldn't. I don't know what your private life is about, nor is it my business.
Thank you, sir. If I could now direct you to page 102 and ask you to read from that.
Yeah, maybe she has a thing for, law enforcement.
Defendant said, my only, I'm assuming, point is that there's a difference between being married to someone and dating them, and we have no intention of ever getting married. The point of dating is not to get tied down. If you're not confident, you should be, in my mind anyway.
The point of dating is not to get tied down. If you're not confident, you should be.
The first two, but I don't care too much about the other girl. I responded, okay, so he is cool with you dating other people, question mark. Defendant responded, and I'm not happy per se, just realistic that there's cracks and it's far from perfect. I doubt it. If he's seeing someone else, I wouldn't want to know either way. He probably feels the same way, and you probably feel that way about whoever you hook up with. I think that's normal. I responded, okay. Defendant said, you don't agree with me, question mark, question mark.
If I could direct your attention to page 107.
She's saying that, like, if he's seeing other people, I wouldn't want to know either way. It's not like they have an open relationship, though. But she's making it seem like, oh, maybe it is open relationship. I don't know.
Ask you from that, sir.
Especially if she's mad because she thought that John sloppily hooked up or kissed another girl during vacation.
Defendant said, at a bar, question mark. I responded, I wasn't suggesting anytime soon. I know you're with your friend. I meant my house.
I wish we had, like, dates and times. Ugh.
Probably after 8. Defendant said probably after 8. I responded, okay, if you don't wanna, that's fine, no pressure. Defendant responded, I will, a drink. It looks like I tabbed the bubble with a question mark. I then said, what do you drink, question mark. Are you out now, question mark. Defendant responded, sorry, I'll drink whiskey if that's what you're having. I responded, haha, send me a pic of you two.
Now, you had testified earlier about some occasion prior to the 28th when the defendant had come over your house in West Roxbury, correct?
Yes.
In this case, as you just read, as well as some of these successive
Oh, she went over there?
pages. After that, is that sort of arranging for that to occur after she goes out or leaves from a friend out in Boston?
I believe she was out with a friend that night in Boston, a female friend, yes.
And that evening when she came over your house, about how long was she there?
Not long.
And so what happened when she arrived, or what, if anything, did the two of you talk?
It was kind of more of this.
Did you bang?
It was a kind of it wasn't an interrogation. It was a face-to-face version of trying to suss out and vet, like, what is this all about? Again, I mean, I'm not proud of these text messages. It is what it is. I'll take responsibility for them. But, John was a friend at the same time. And I certainly wasn't, if they were at the end of the relationship, they were at the end of the relationship. But I wasn't going to have somebody utilize me and weaponize me against somebody that I liked. And it was just a weird experience. It was, I don't even think either one of us finished a drink. It was, like I said, it was this type of, like, what is this all about? And then she left. I think I might have asked her to text me when she got in, so I knew she got home.
So they didn't bang?
Now, that evening or at any other point, in your friendship or your relationship, whatever,
Hi, Dory. How are you doing today?
however you want to term it, was there any other sort of intimate contact beyond what you described occurring as she walked you out that night you were over Ms. O'Keefe's house for the patrons?
Are you asking if she ever kissed me again?
I'm asking if there was any kissing, any sexual relationship, anything at all between yourself and the defendant.
Absolutely not. In referring to my residence when she stopped by, I was very uncomfortable, and this is an uncomfortable situation. Just a weird vibe. That's the best I can describe it.
And lastly, sir, lastly as it applies to this, turning your attention to the last page, number 118. And there's a couple different dates from the middle to the bottom of the page. Is that correct?
There is.
If I could ask you to start reading from, excuse me, where it says Sunday, January 23rd, 9:40 p.m.
Defendant, so Sunday,
Oh, my God. Dude.
January 23rd at 9:40 p.m., defendant texted me, phone works, and then an emoji with arrows going like both ways. And I responded, thought you were all set, question mark. Defendant said, with talking, question mark? No. I said, are you sure? And she didn't respond, and...
Wait, is Friday night, is that the night when they're at Hillside? Or sorry, at the waterfall? And then he probably saw her, like, with John. Maybe all up on him. Oh, gosh.
I believe I said, that was it for that, the 23rd. I'm sorry.
So then the next date that any text communication was sent between the two of you would have been Friday, 11:32 p.m. Is that correct?
That's correct. That would have been when we were at the waterfall.
And again, what does the text say there?
Well.
That's from you to her, is that correct?
Yes.
And then the next text communication is the following day, or Saturday, the 29th at 11:54 a.m. Is that correct?
Yes.
And who is speaking in that communication, and what is said?
That is the defendant, and the defendant said John died.
And did you respond
Jesus, like getting goosebumps.
to that at all?
No.
And did you have any other communication with Ms. Reed following receiving that text message on January 29th?
No, I have not.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Gilman, you can take it. Sir, if I could, a couple more questions for you.
Well, hold on. Sorry, what was that?
And did you respond to that at all?
No.
And did you have any other communication with Ms. Reed following receiving that text message on January 29th?
No, I have not.
Because at that point, he'd already gone over to the Albert family home, And maybe Jen McCabe told everyone else, like, oh, Karen said that I hit him, or I hit him. Did I hit him? Maybe that's why he didn't respond back.
Thanks. Ms. Gilman, you continue.
Maybe at that point they already thought that she did it.
Sir, if I could,
Ooh, her face does not look
a couple
happy.
more questions for you, taking you back on the early morning of January 29th, when you had come from Waterfall to Fairview and then you were leaving from Fairview, if I could turn that sort of portion into your mind. When you're pulling away from the residence, the period of time that you were talking about as far as the plow being down and scraping a little bit on the ground, can you recall that?
I do.
Well, how much distance are we talking about with respect to that?
Distance less than a
Yeah, I mean, flirting on text is awkward.
foot, I would say. I mean, it's real quick. I heard it.
And then as far as when you're familiar with an area in the front of Mr. Albert's property at 34 Fairview where there is a flagpole and a fire hydrant?
I do know where that is. Yes.
And as you drove by the house that evening, where were you in relation to that part of the yard?
When I drove away,
Yes.
well, I might have been I was in the street. I pulled away, so that area would be on my passenger side.
He only had screenshots of the exchange before he destroyed his phone. Well, I'm assuming Karen Rizzo has her phone. So defense, if he's lying about these text messages, they can just have her phone records and then show that, oh, look, these are the real text messages and this is what you deleted.
And so what I'm asking, sir, is as you pulled away, did you pull away alongside the curb? Did you pull to the middle of the street? Or where did you direct the vehicle to go as you were pulling away?
Like any other time, I pulled away from the curb, and that's kind of it's a one-lane street, so to speak, and nobody was coming towards me, so just pulled out into the street, drove away.
I may have a moment, John.
Yes.
He's a horrible friend. Yeah, he just wanted to get his dick wet. I think if Karen really pursued it and, like, let's say they went over to each other's houses, like, it probably would have happened behind John O'Keefe's back.
I have no further questions of this witness, Your Honor.
I'll see you for 1 minute over here at sidebar before we begin. Jurors, feel free to stand up and stretch.
Was your testimony?
Oh, it's going to be
sorry.
done by Mr. Jackson. Let me open the door. It's going to get hot in here. She wrote. Now what? Oh man, because I think he wanted to go from 0 to 100, and she's like, "Ooh, okay, not ready for this. Let me see how long I can stall him for." All right, y'all, do this. Which earbud should I put it in? I'll do left side. Did they bang? Seems like no.
I thought you were his attorney. My mistake. Where's your attorney?
I don't know. He might be in the courthouse.
Is he in the building?
I don't know where he physically is right now.
Okay. Without telling me anything that you said to your attorney, did you meet with him this morning before your testimony?
Yes.
Did you meet with him during the break? Again, don't tell me what you talked about, but did you meet with him during the break when we took a break a few minutes ago?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And obviously the subject matter, again, without telling me any communication, the subject matter was your testimony here today, correct?
It's hot.
No.
How many conversations have you had with Mr. Lally about your testimony or your proposed testimony in anticipation of you testifying today?
One.
When was that?
That was on Monday.
How long was that conversation?
I would say under an hour and a half.
In person or over the phone?
In person.
Where was that conversation?
That was at the DA's office.
Who else was there?
My attorney, victim witness advocate, I believe her name is Kristen Collins, ADA McLaughlin, ADA
Bye, Vince.
Lally, and Lieutenant Brian Tully from the Mass State Police.
Anybody taking notes?
I did not. I don't know if anybody was taking notes.
Well, you were sitting there watching Lieutenant Tully. Did he take notes?
Not that I saw, no.
So you had an hour and a half long conversation with the prosecution team and a police officer witness, and you're telling me that you did not see anybody taking a single note down. Is that right?
That's correct. I did hand something to Lieutenant Tully, but he didn't take any notes in reference to what I handed him.
What'd you hand him?
I handed him a piece of mail that I got at my residence.
Anything have to do with this case?
Well, I believe so.
Was that turned over to Mr. Lally?
No, I turned it over to State Police.
Your Honor, may we approach for a second?
Yes.
Oh, the butt dials with Brian Albert.
Other than that piece of mail that you handed to Lieutenant Tully, was there any other exchange of documents or anything like that? Have you shown anything in anticipation of your testimony?
The only thing I could be recalled showing was a photograph of the exterior of 34 Fairville Road in Canton.
What about the text messages that you just went over extensively? Were you shown those?
I was shown a pile of papers, and I was advised that those text messages were going to be, they were put into another format, so they were easier to read.
And these are the screenshots that you just described on the exhibit.
Well, as I said, he showed me the stack, said they were the text messages. They were in a different format, but I'm assuming that's what they were.
What was your assignment with the ATF back in 2022?
I was assigned to the Bridgewater Field office, but I was full-time with the United States Marshal Service doing fugitive apprehension.
And where were you physically officing out of?
Well, I continue to maintain the office at Canton PD.
Okay, but to be clear, you were a federal officer, not a Canton police officer on some sort of a task force with Canton PD, correct?
No, I was not on a task force with Canton PD.
Yeah, when Brian Albert and his wife Nicole were getting it on, possibly they were butt dialing Higgins.
But you did have an office at Canton PD based on a personal relationship that you had with the chief, correct? He gave you this office as a courtesy. Is that right?
So if I can explain,
Yes or no? Was it provided as a courtesy?
well, working partnership, I would say.
And you've been asked that specific question in a prior hearing, correct?
Yes.
In June of 2023, right?
Yes.
And you explained, look, it was a personal relationship that I had with Chief Berkowitz.
I did.
It was born out of
Tragedy.
a family tragedy that he was aware of.
Horrible tragedy, yes.
And based on that personal friendship and that personal relationship, he offered you the convenience of officing out of Canton PD.
I would say that's a good summary.
And in addition to just having an office there, you also had a key card access, correct?
I did to get in and out.
What was the name that you used? You said it was a proxy card?
I think it's called, I think in the IT world, it's probably called a
What was better for you guys, direct examination or cross-examination?
proxy card. That's what I know it to be.
So you had both a physical office and full access to Canton PD, all based on the friendship and relationship and convenience, friendship and relationship you had with Chief Berkowitz and the convenience that he wanted to give you for having that office there, correct?
Hey, Lycan.
No, I wouldn't say full access. I had access to certain areas within the department.
Well, you certainly had access to and from your office.
Yes.
You had ingress and egress to the Canton Police Department.
Yes,
You could go in and out of the Sally Port.
I could.
You could go upstairs to Chief Berkowitz's office.
Yes.
You could go downstairs to the dispatch area, which is on the first floor, correct?
Yes.
And then you could go out to the Sally Port, into the Sally Port, across that garage, those two bay doors, at your leisure.
Well, that would exclude the evidence room, the arms room, and places like that. I didn't have access to those places.
Right. But the places that I just mentioned, you did have access to.
Yes, absolutely.
I always think you get more out of cross and direct. Yeah. With this trial, yeah.
You'd had that office for what? Back in January of 2022. Probably had that office for more than 3 years.
I would estimate probably sometime around 2018.
2018. Okay,
Yeah.
not 18 years. 2018.
No, 2018. I'm sorry. I apologize.
So maybe close to 4 years.
Yes.
Okay. I want to turn your attention, Mr. Higgins, to January 28, January 29, 2022. By the way, I should ask another foundational question. Are you currently still at ATF?
Am I employed by ATF?
Correct.
Yes, I am. A special agent. Yes.
What is your current billet or your assignment?
Objection.
Is that
You're taken out of the field?
Was I taken out of the field? Yes.
Or you no longer in the field?
Objection. Anyone move to strike?
sustained?
29, 2022. You recall those dates?
I do.
You've been living with those dates for the last couple of years.
Like a nightmare.
John O'Keefe's body was found outside your friend Brian Albert's house on the morning of January 29th, 2022, correct?
Yes.
You've previously testified that on January 28th, you had gone to New York for this memorial service, correct?
I mean, cross is always more interesting because it's like adversarial. Hi, Sleuthy. How are you doing today?
Funeral service. Yes.
The funeral service, not the memorial. You separate the two.
So, well, the wake would be the night before. Funeral. It was. I call them the services. It wasn't a memorial. Memorial to me would be more of like an
Wait, did he attend John's funeral?
annual thing. This was the services.
Understood.
Just want to be clear.
So you went with Brian Albert, Kevin Albert, and Eddie Hernandez. Is that right?
I traveled down there myself, but I met up with them.
To go to the services.
Yes.
Is it fair to say that you and Brian Albert and Kevin Albert sort of run in the same social and professional circles?
I mean, without speaking for anybody else, I think we know a lot of the same people.
Go to some of the same holiday parties, for instance.
Yes.
Go to some of the same events, whether they're law enforcement events or otherwise.
Retirement parties. Yes. Things like that.
Might meet up at a bar and have a social drink together.
Yes.
Might share a meal together, correct?
Yes.
And you would agree that you particularly are pretty well connected to the Canton law enforcement community.
Could you qualify that? Explain that?
You know quite a few cops, right?
Well, it's a small department, so I do know everybody in the building in some capacity.
Okay, so my question is, you know quite a few cops in Canton.
I do.
You're pretty good friends with, as a matter of fact, maybe best friends with the chief of police, former chief of police, Kenny Berkowitz, correct?
Yes.
You know Brian Albert, he's a Boston police officer.
Yes.
You know his brother and work with his brother at Canton PD, correct?
Yes.
So it's fair to say, back to my original question, you're relatively well connected in the law enforcement community, the fabric of that community in Canton. Is that right? Is
Well, I think that comes with working with people. Yes.
that yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. As a matter of fact, you've even given a personal toast at one of these events, these retirement events, et cetera, correct?
Chief Berkowitz. Yes.
And during the course of that toast, you even said, if you want to hide a body, Kenny Berkowitz is your man, correct?
Objection.
Did you say that? Did you say that?
I don't recall that.
You don't remember telling that joke in front of a room full of folks?
I don't.
If you want to hide a body, Kenny Berkowitz is your man?
I don't.
You will agree that
Do we have a recording of this? Hello, Appleman. No, this case is like, it's a hard one.
some of your closest friends are some of the more powerful people in Canton in terms of politics and law enforcement, right?
Objection.
Ask it differently.
At that same retirement dinner, there were members of the DA's office there, correct?
Yes.
Matter of fact, the DA, Michael Morrissey, was there.
I believe he was at one point.
All right. And that was the same event that you gave either a keynote speech or some sort of a speech for Chief Berkowitz.
Oh, was he a prosecutor during the Phil Spector trial? What was that trial about, Lori?
Is that right?
Yes.
How long have you known Brian Albert specifically?
I would love to have seen him be a prosecutor.
I think I had some interaction with him when I was on the Cambridge Fire Department in my capacity in fire investigations. And then I would say pretty much through my entire career at ATF, you know, I came into contact with Brian.
Give me a number of years.
Well, I've been with ATF now for 15 years. I've probably known him at least that whole time.
You'd say that you have both a social and professional working relationship with him?
I would say yes, he's a friend.
Frequently drink together?
Hi, Toy Box. How are you doing today? How's it going?
We have drank together. I wouldn't say frequently, but yes, we've drank together.
Break bread together, have meals together?
Absolutely, had lunch.
As a matter of fact, you were asked at a prior hearing whether or not you could put a number.
Oh, Karen Reed's family. What do they do? What does her mom and dad do? Do y'all know? Phil Spector shot a lady. Oh, wait, Lori, is it about the old man that was getting terrorized by people in his neighborhood? Like there were people that kept breaking into his house or something like that, and the cops weren't taking him seriously, so he set up a booby trap. And then it was a like a pregnant woman and a man that broke in. But like, I think he got convicted though, right? Because didn't he shoot the woman as she was like retreating and leaving the property or something like that? Or she had her back turned? I forgot. Is that the one? Oh, sorry. Okay, just kidding. Just kidding. He's a music producer. Oh, just kidding. Ooh, completely wrong one. What was that one about?
On the number of times that you've had drinks with Brian Albert, you said somewhere around 50 or something like that? Or actually, you said under 50?
Under 50.
Who was it that hoped to find nudes of Karen? That would have been Michael Proctor. Yeah, Michael Proctor. Haven't gotten to him yet. Oh, that's in Minnesota.
Yeah, I think I might have said 30.
And that was in 2 years, correct?
Yes.
So not under 50 in the entirety of your relationship, 15-year relationship with Brian Albert. Literally in the prior 2 years when you gave your testimony in June of 2023, in those 2 years, met up with him and had drinks under 50 times.
Was that a question?
Yes.
Why
Could
did
you
shoot
rephrase
her?
it?
Sure. Is it true that you testified, answer, quote, I mean, in 2 years, I mean, maybe under 50, end quote. That was your testimony to how often you socialized with Brian Albert, correct?
So we socialized more when I started working with his unit.
Okay. So my question is, well,
I don't know the exact number, but yes, we socialized, absolutely.
that's all I was getting at.
Okay, that's fine. I mean,
Jackson crosses Higgins but runs out of time. Yannetti finishes cross because Jackson had to be out of time. I mean, both of them do a really good job at cross. So you know how usually when you're watching a trial, there's like a team of lawyers and you can spot the weak lawyer and like the strong lawyer on the team. Like for example, with like the Heard trial, like the weak lawyer was definitely Miss Elaine. Stronger one was Mr. Roddenborn. With this one, I think Yannetti and Jackson, I think they're both very fucking good and very irritating as well sometimes.
there's no secrets here, right? He's my friend.
Mr. Higgins, let me ask the questions. I get
And
it.
scary. Oh God, I would never be crossed by any of them.
That's fine.
I get it. You also know Brian Albert well enough to know what his relationship with, for instance, the other guy that traveled back from New York with, Eddie Hernandez.
I do know Eddie Hernandez. I actually know Eddie the longest out of everybody.
So you knew Eddie.
He made it look like she shot herself. Spector was crazy and pulled guns on everyone. Spector was famous. He shot a waitress/model in his house, found guilty, sent to jail, and then died. How long ago was this? Including the Beatles?
Our Officer Hernandez.
Objection,
before you
Your
ever
Honor.
knew.
Ask the question.
You
Is she
knew
still practicing? Probably.
Officer Hernandez before you ever knew Brian Albert.
Yes.
You knew.
Well, they said this trial was going to be about 6 to 7 weeks, I think. But with the way that the court is going, I mean, we have like last week, we basically had 5 days where there's no court days. Oh, in Alhambra? What? I love going to Alhambra to eat. Alhambra?
Him before you even knew Kevin Albert.
Yes.
And you're aware that there was a physical altercation
Objection,
between
Your
Brian
Honor.
Albert and Eddie Hernandez that you're aware of, correct?
The objection sustained.
Are you aware that Brian Albert had gotten into a fist fight with Eddie Hernandez?
Objection.
Sustained.
Were you at a Christmas party when that happened?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained as to that form. You can be specific now.
Have you ever been at an event with Brian Albert and Eddie Hernandez and seen them fight?
Objection.
Christmas 5 years or so before 2022.
Okay, the objection sustained.
You do know that Brian Albert has a reputation for being a fighter.
Objection.
Sustained.
Wait, really? Wait, what's the court dates next week, Gemini?
You're at
I think in my notes I have... What do I have in my notes? Oh, you're right. June 7 off. Ooh, June 7 there's a status hearing for Sarah Boone, though. Okay, so June 7 is next Friday. June 6th, they end at noon. But I think Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, normal days, right? Are they full days or half days?
asked in a formal interview, do you recall, I want to make sure I'm clear about some of your prior statements. You had a formal interview with some folks prior to your testimony at a prior proceeding. You understand what I'm talking about?
I'm tracking.
Okay. At the formal interview, which is what I'm going to call that.
Okay.
The formal interview, you were asked about Brian Albert and his reputation. Were you not? Yes or no?
Yes.
You indicated in that formal interview that even Chief Berkowitz was
Objection.
a little afraid of Brian Albert.
All right, so that is the objection sustained. That's stricken. I'll see you at sidebar.
Also relatively close friends with his brother Kevin, correct?
I am.
Kevin Albert is a detective with the Canton Police Department. Is that right?
Yes.
And you've worked in the same physical office with him for a number of years.
Physical building.
Physical building, that's a better way to put it.
It's different.
Is that right?
Yes.
And it's
Really? She changed it? They want to go half an hour longer in order to go through the case faster? Okay.
fair to say that you've consulted with Kevin Albert on certain of his cases professionally. Is that right?
I've assisted.
And you've also socialized with him, shared drinks with him,
Yes,
gone out
I
to bars with him. Is that right?
Yes, I have.
It's fair to say that you know the Albert family.
I just want to say this. Time is going by so fast. We're in June already. Next month is July. Okay. We're already doing case management for Donna Adelson in July. And then in August, we have Alexi Treviso and we have Donna Adelson in September. Like, time is just going by so fast. Crazy.
Relatively well.
I would say that I know Brian and Kevin the best.
On January 28th, you drove your Jeep Wrangler to the Hillside Bar to meet up with Brian Albert for drinks, correct?
I did.
You said you drank 3 to 4 whiskey sodas at the Hillside. Is that right?
It'd be Jameson and ginger, not whiskey soda.
Oh, man. I was going to say whiskey soda. Okay, respectable. Jameson and ginger.
My mistake. Jameson and ginger. Jameson is a Irish whiskey.
It is.
And ginger is ginger ale?
Yes.
Okay. What was Brian Albert drinking?
If I was to guess, a beer.
I don't want you to guess. Do you know what he was drinking?
No, I don't.
He was drinking
drinking something.
Okay. Alcohol.
Yes.
You two were probably going round for round. In other words, finish a drink, get another round for the two of you, finish it, get another round.
I don't think we were. No, I wouldn't say we're going round for round.
So he was nursing 1 beer while you had 4 Jamesons?
Well, it would take. Say that again?
He was nursing 1 beer while you had 4 Jamesons? What you said?
No, he was probably, maybe he had more beers than I had Jamesons, is more what I would say.
Okay, so maybe he had 5 or 6.
Oh, my God. If I was a jury, I would be so confused when to come into court day. Oh, my God. Wait, so next week, Monday, Wednesday, full. No court Tuesday and Friday. Thursday, half.
Beers while you had 4 Jamesons.
I'm not going to put a number on it because I don't know.
But it was more.
More than what?
More than you.
I know, we're at 30 minutes. That's it.
Maybe. He wasn't there that long.
Well, it doesn't take that long to drink a beer, does it? If you're sort of thirsty and in a hurry.
Yes, a highball. Yes.
Is that a question?
Everything I say up here is a question.
Okay.
Just presume
Well,
that.
all right. So
Well, that was.
Sorry, I'm going to use the bathroom really quick. Ooh. Hershey, don't eat your feet. Don't eat your feet. Dennis? Whoa. Should we go to Pasadena with Shiro? Huh? I don't know. What time is it now? Like 3? Oh, but he's Limpy Boy. Oh, no, I'm not Limpy Boy. Okay, you're Stroller Boy now, Shiro. He's a Limpy Boy. All right, by the way, if you guys watch my vlogs, I'm going to repaint my dining room. This is gonna be the third time that I'm repainting my dining room. I don't know. I'm just so bad at choosing colors. Every color I choose for my dining room is just fucking ugly. First, it was this dark blue. Getting rid of it. Now it's like a dark burnt tan. I'm getting rid of it. You love Shiro? Shiro says hi. I missed it? Wait, when did I miss it? Oh, wait, I think it's happening right now. The question thing, right?
Is that a question?
Everything I say up here is a question.
Okay.
Just presume
Well, all right. So
Well, that wasn't, so. So let's, yes, Mr. Higgins, that was a question.
all right, let me put a question mark at the end of that.
Okay.
Your memory that Brian Albert had more drinks than you did when you had those 3 to 4 Jameson and Gingers.
to be honest with you, I wasn't keeping track.
Oh, maroon? Oh, but there's so many different shades of maroon, though. Maroon sounds pretty, but I don't know. It's like so bold and daring. I'm going to add some furniture pieces that are maroon. Like I want to get some lamps and lampshades or whatever it's called. Bordeaux! Why did you name me Bordeaux? Oh my god, so cute and fishy. She just says, hey. Oh, I grew up with Shih Tzus. Oh. Soulful gray, gorgeous warm light, gray color. Soulful gray. A warm gray? What does a warm gray look like? Yeah, I was thinking of doing like an off-white. I don't know, because I'm kind of annoyed with all the different colors I'm choosing because I suck at it. So I'm like, I think I'm just gonna go somewhere safe. I think.
He left Hillside and you stayed, correct?
For a short time, yes.
You later changed your mind and ultimately decided to go to the waterfall. You finished whatever you're eating or drinking, you decided to go to the waterfall, right?
Yes, because
No, Tiffany blue is too bright.
I'm always saying I'm going to show up, and then I kind of do the Irish exit. So I decided it was a long day. It was an emotional day, and I decided to join them.
Did you drive your vehicle over there?
Yes, I did.
After having as many as 4 whiskeys?
Yes.
Brian Albert, did he drive himself?
Well, I didn't see him. I dropped him off in Boston PVD district down there in Charlestown, and I'm assuming he drove back towards that way to meet me.
He wasn't with anybody else?
Remember, just like furniture to hide dog hair, walls to hide the blood splatters. Okay, so definitely go for blood red. All right, got it.
That I know of.
So he was drinking at the Hillside Bar and then got in his car and drove over to the waterfall as well?
I didn't see him drive over, but I assume that's what he did, yes.
You went to John O'Keefe's house. I'm going to shift gears for a second. You went to John O'Keefe's house at some point to watch the Patriots game on January 16th, right?
Yes.
That was the time when you indicated that when you left, Karen gave you a kiss goodbye, correct?
Yes.
Oh, God.
It's safe to say that that was not some hot, passionate, long kiss, but you think it was more than just a friendly peck, correct?
I wouldn't describe it as a peck. I describe it as more than friends. It was a kiss.
Well, you did describe it as a peck, didn't you?
When?
When you texted Karen Reed and she said it was just a peck, and then you texted back, I agree.
Figure of speech.
What truth, right?
Figure of speech.
After that incident, it's safe to say, we've just gone through a number of them, you exchanged flirtatious texts with Miss Reed. Is that right?
Is the incident you're referring to when she kissed me?
No, I'm saying after that. After that incident, yes, after the Patriots game,
Okay, yep.
you exchanged flirtatious texts
We did.
with Miss Reed.
I did.
And that was over the course of a few weeks, a couple of weeks, but just 9 days. Is that right?
So it was between the January 12th and I would say before the 28th, because the 28th she didn't respond, and the 29th she sent that last text that John died.
Well,
Those weren't.
You've looked at the text, right?
I have.
You just looked at the last couple of texts.
I did.
The last text that she sent of any substance was January 23rd, right?
Well, I think the text. I think the text on the 29th, John died. There's substance there.
Okay, I'm not suggesting. I'm talking about after you said well,
Yep.
28th, right? The text of substance between the two of you, talking between the two of you, not the John died text. That substance ended on the 23rd, didn't it?
I'd have to have the text in front of me to agree with you.
I think it's right here, Mr. Jackson, right in front of.
Everything on it. Tell me.
Yes, it'd be the 23rd at 9:40.
Okay. Yes. Ever had any sort of physical contact with one another?
Do you mean intimate when you say physical?
Correct. I'm
Yes.
not talking about shaking her hand, Mr. Higgins.
Well, I want to answer your question truthfully.
I would like you to, too. You didn't have any physical, intimate contact with Ms. Reed, correct?
No, I did not.
There was no other hugs or kisses or certainly no sex.
No.
And when she said, I'm glad you came over tonight in one of those texts that you just read a few minutes ago, she was referring to the Patriots game with John there and a big crowd there, correct?
Yes.
Over the course of that
Stonington? What brand is that?
week or so, Ms. Reed did explain her feelings about her relationship with Mr. O'Keefe, correct? In text messages.
During the pendency of our communication, she did express, yes.
And she indicated that there's a difference between being married to someone and dating someone, et cetera. We saw those texts. Is that right?
Yes.
She also indicated that in terms of the situation in Aruba, she was upset by that, but it's not that big a deal, correct?
Benjamin Moore? Okay.
It was clear to me she was upset.
And she said, I don't care too much about that other girl, right?
Well, at least that's what she said in text, yes.
That's what I'm asking you. Is that what she said in text, Mr. Higgins? It's not a trick question.
That's what she said in text.
Right. She said something along the lines of, I'm just trying to be realistic. There's cracks in the relationship. It's far from perfect. Is that right?
I think that's something she texted.
All right. And you'll agree that during the course of these texts, you were constantly asking for clarity and explanation from her, were you not?
During our communication, I did ask for clarity.
Many times.
Yes.
You saw it,
Yeah,
correct?
I think like a light warm gray could work because I never really thought of gray as warm, but now that I think about it, I have seen grays that are kind of on the warmer side.
Yes.
And she pretty much wouldn't answer you, correct?
Oh, but is Pharaoh and Ball, are they expensive? They just sound expensive, so I've avoided Pharaoh and Ball.
She was non-committal, I would say.
Which is why you were saying in your texts, why won't you answer the question? And she would parry and not answer
I
that.
usually go to, I just go to Home Depot and just get Bear. They have like the one coat paint that I just get.
Neither, correct?
Well, I didn't want to be stuck in the middle of anything.
That's not my question. I'm asking you whether or not she would answer your question about clarity specifically.
She avoided questions about text.
Right. And that was frustrating because you were very interested in her romantically at that point, correct?
I was attracted to her. I don't know that I would say very interested in her.
You texted things like, why did you get my number and reach out? That's a quote from the text we just read, correct?
I did ask that, yes.
You said, now what? Is that right?
Yes.
You texted, so now what? Correct?
Yes.
You texted, I would hang out, meaning with you.
Yes.
Correct? You were showing interest in her.
Yes.
You're showing romantic interest in her.
I wouldn't say it was romantic. I was trying to vet it out.
Well, you weren't seeing if she wanted to go see a ball game with you as a buddy, right?
Not really, no.
No, you were showing romantic interest in her, weren't you?
I was trying to vet out was her interest in me legitimate. It was very normal for me to have that
Oh, because you can color match them.
question in my mind when I didn't initiate this, she did, and I think it was a fair question just to try to find out.
You were showing romantic interest in Karen Reed, weren't you?
I was interested, but I don't think I was at the romantic phase.
Okay. When I say romantic, well, what do you mean by romantic? What's the romantic phase?
Sending somebody flowers?
Dating?
Well, there's a difference between dating and hanging out. I mean,
Oh.
it's kind of hard to date somebody when you have a boyfriend.
Mr. Higgins, well, not if both people are dating other people, right? Happens all the time, doesn't it?
Well, I think I asked that question too.
Right. That's not my question. My question is, you seem to have a problem admitting that you had a romantic interest in my client. Is there a reason for that?
I was attracted to her.
Right. Physically attracted.
I thought she was an attractive woman.
Romantically attracted.
I'm not going to go there. No, I don't agree with that.
Of course you're not going to go there because that would put you in a very awkward position, wouldn't it, sir?
Objection.
Not at all.
So the objection sustained is to the form. You can ask it differently, and that answer will be stricken now.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. May I?
Yes.
You were sexually attracted to her.
I was physically attracted to her, yes.
Sexually attracted to her was my question.
Oh, Lori, we're coming over. Make food for all of us, okay?
Well, I think in the text I said you're hot.
Okay. So my question again, Mr. Higgins, you seem to not want to answer my question. My question is, were you or were you not sexually attracted to my client?
Yes.
Okay. You were saying things like, what do you want from me? And I want the real deal. Those are your words, correct?
Yes.
And the real deal with you would be...
How long were they texting each other? I don't know, for like a couple weeks, like 2 weeks or 1 week. Not even that long.
to date her,
Hi, lady.
to get involved with her, romantically, correct?
No.
The real deal was what? What did you mean by I want the real deal?
Like a relationship.
What kind of relationship? A buddy-buddy relationship? You just want to go like,
This is the same thing everybody wants. A real relationship.
No, fun, a hot day. Sounds heavenly. Just get like something cool to drink. Oh, yum.
a romantic relationship, Mr. Higgins?
It's possible.
Right. And she was answering with things like, when you said, now what? She answered, I don't know, correct?
Now what?
Yes, she did.
When you asked, so now what? She answered, I'm sorry, when you said, so now what? She answered, now what? Correct?
Well, I don't have it in front of me, so I can't agree with you. If I'd like to see what you're referring to.
Well, you just read it about 10 minutes ago. Would you quarrel if
I know, but you're giving me portions of it.
you were given portions of it by Mr. Lally as well?
Okay.
Right? Did you text something like, now what? And she responded something like, now what?
I think on one occasion she did, yes.
Okay. And you remember you just read a text where she texted, you texted, what do you want from me? And her responsive text was, I don't know. Correct?
I think that was one of the texts.
Again, with this theme of her being non-committal, one way or the other. Is that right?
Well, that's not how I would interpret it as a theme, no.
Well, didn't you just say she was non-committal? That was your word, not mine.
I did, but as I told you, it's been a process of trying to suss it out and see what this was all about.
Right. So when you were sussing it out and determining whether or not you were going to advance this romantic interest, she was sort of non-committal, wasn't she?
Well, not one person advances it. I think that's a joint thing.
When you texted, you want the real deal, she responded, it doesn't exist, didn't she?
She did, yes.
And she never once in any of those texts expressed anger or hatred toward John, correct?
No, not at all.
But in fact, she indicated more of frustration with the immediate family. The kids, she didn't want to have kids.
In its totality, I would say yes.
And then on January 23rd, as you just saw, she just stopped communicating with you altogether, correct?
Until the 29th, yes.
Correct. Do you know what the term ghosted means?
Well, I think I have a general idea, yes.
She sort of ghosted you, didn't she?
I wouldn't agree with that.
That was frustrating to you, that she just stopped communicating, wasn't it?
No, not at all.
You'd been moving through this mindset of exploring a romantic interest with a beautiful woman, thought was interested in you, just like that. It was done, right?
No.
So what communication did you have with her after January 23rd?
I feel like if anything, he was just more confused and kind of just like, the hell just happened?
Well, she texted me on January 29th.
You keep saying that, but you know what I'm getting to. January 29th was her informing you that a tragedy had occurred. John had died, right? I'm not talking about that, Mr. Higgins, so I don't want to keep playing games.
All right, so that's what we talked about. No more of
Sorry.
that.
After the 23rd, or up to the 23rd, she had been texting back and forth with you pretty regularly. You just saw it, correct?
She also sent me a text with arrows saying the phone works both ways.
And as of the 23rd, she stopped, didn't she?
The texts were sporadic over those 9 days. I don't know if they would have stopped or they would have kept going.
Well, they didn't keep going, did they?
Well, John passed away.
You know they didn't keep going because from the 23rd onto the 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th, 28th, all the way to the 29th, she never texted you, right?
I believe so.
She didn't respond to any of your texts, correct?
Well, she didn't respond to the text on the 28th Friday.
All right, why don't we take our lunch and recess?
What I'm going to ask the jury to do,
Oh, and that's it? Okay, lunch breaky. Do we start with Yannetti now? Mr. Yannetti. Oh, I see a text message on the screen.
Her text communications with you started to dwindle.
Wait, no, it's Jackson. Wait, does this cross-examination go on to the next day? Oh my God, he's on the stand for like 8 hours. Holy shit.
The text exchanges and the communications
Wow,
that you were having
okay.
with Ms. Reed the days leading up to January 23rd. You recall that?
Yes.
It's fair to say that her text communications with you started to dwindle off in the days before the 23rd, correct?
They lagged.
As a matter of fact, you reached out to her in an effort to try to prompt the conversation to continue, did you not?
I reached out to her, but I wouldn't say that's what it was about.
Well, you texted her, stranger, didn't you? Not once, but twice.
I believe so.
Take a look, if you don't mind, at this is a page from what you've just seen.
so he needs to.
I'm sorry. The numbers right in front of you. May I approach? What you're looking at?
Haha, stranger.
And then what was the response from Ms. Reed?
Hey, I was at the Hilly all weekend.
And what did you respond to that way?
I have not heard from you.
And by the way, if you look at the next date down, what's the date underneath I have not heard from you?
The 23rd.
So this would have preceded the 23rd, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Then on the 23rd, and by the way, after you texted, I have not heard from you, she did not respond, correct?
She did not respond.
Then on the 23rd, she did respond with phone works, correct?
In the arrows, like both ways.
Okay.
Yep.
And then what did you text after that?
I just said, thought you were all set.
And how did she respond?
She said, we're talking? No.
That's all I have for that.
Okay.
Bring the lights back up. So clearly, with that last text, her response was, in response to you saying, thought we were all set, she said, with talking, no, correct?
Yep. Yes.
Did that indicate to you that with flirting, yes, we're all done?
No, I didn't read anything into it.
Okay. But you did read where she said, with talking, no, correct?
Yes.
And then you responded, how?
I said, are you sure?
And did she respond?
No.
Pupper's doing good. He's here. He has his anti-inflammation medication, so he's not limping anymore. But I felt so bad for him. He was limping so much.
As a matter of fact, the next time you saw her, communicated with her, she was walking into the Waterfall Bar on the 29th, late night hours of the 28th, the early morning of the 29th, with her boyfriend, John O'Keefe, correct?
Yes.
Now, you had discussed your flirtations, if I can use that word, that you had with Ms. Reed with your friends, at least some of them, correct?
I don't recall that, no.
Do you recall that you openly shared the details of your interest in Ms. Reed with your work supervisor at the DOJ?
Well, that was after I shared what happened, that she kissed me. Yes, I did share that with her.
And that was with...
That was the first time.
That was with a person by the name of Kate Dowd, is that right?
That's correct.
And that was before January 29th.
Yes.
Is Kate Dow also going to testify?
And that's because your interest in Karen Reed, whether you call it romantic or sexual or whatever, your interest was something that was at least occupying your mind at that point, correct?
No.
It was occupying your mind enough to share it with your boss.
No, what I shared with my boss was the fact that she kissed me. That was it.
Did you discuss your flirtatious relationship with Karen Reed with Brian Albert?
No, it doesn't have a broken leg or anything like that. They think it's just muscle related. But boy, was that expensive. Because I think we could have just let him rest maybe for a couple days. It might have been fine, but I just felt so bad because, he was in pain. I just didn't want him to be suffering.
At any point?
No.
Never.
No.
So you were on a 4-hour drive in a snowstorm back from New York with with Mr. Albert, and your interest in Karen Reed never came up.
No.
Even though he's a good friend.
Yes, just something I wouldn't talk about.
You've been drinking since about what time? What time? That's a bad way to ask it. What time did you start drinking?
When are we at, Mr.?
I'm sorry, on the 28th, when you got back from New York. When did you start drinking?
Well, it wasn't until I swapped out vehicles and I went up to the hillside.
Okay. That would have been, give me a time frame. 9-ish, 8-ish?
It was dark. It was maybe in the area of 8 o'clock.
I mean, I will say this though. I think his cross-examination, like his responses and his body language, way better than Jen McCabe and Matt McCabe. I don't remember Brian Albert. How did he do in cross-examination? I actually don't remember.
And what time do you think you got to Waterfall?
I couldn't say. I don't. It was after the hillside.
Did before Brian Albert left Hillside, did he tell you that John O'Keefe had been invited over to meet them at the Waterfall?
No.
Was there any particular reason why you changed your mind and left the Hillside to go to the Waterfall?
Well, I think, as I previously testified, that it was because I didn't always take them up on their offer, and I usually did the Irish exit, and I decided because of the weather and everything else, and it had been a long day.
The Irish exit. Love it. Yeah, I don't remember. How did Brian Albert do? Because Brian Albert is also a cop as well, but how did he do on the stand? No, I mean, we had law enforcement testify up there in the beginning of the couple first days of the trial. Did they do a good job at testifying? No, it was kind of a hot mess.
That I would go down there and join them.
Did it have anything to do with you knowing that Karen Reed might be at the Waterfall?
It couldn't have, because I didn't know she or John O'Keefe would even be there. I didn't know who was going to be there other than Brian's wife.
Do you have any text messages with Brian about going to the Waterfall?
I don't recall. He told me about it at the hillside.
And once he got to the Waterfall, he got to the Waterfall obviously before you did.
He did, I think shortly before, yes.
Any text communications between you and Brian Albert about who was at the Waterfall or who was expected to come to the Waterfall?
No, not that I recall.
Now, you've already indicated, and I don't think we need to go into a lot of detail about this, but I want to ask you just in general, the mood at the Waterfall was good spirits, correct?
It was great. Band was playing.
You did not see any sort of tension between John and Karen?
I did not.
Nobody seemed overly intoxicated?
No.
You had several drinks before you even got to the Waterfall, right?
I think it was 3 to 4.
Did you drink additionally at the Waterfall?
I did, yes.
Did you drink whiskey or beer or what?
Whiskey.
Okay. How many do you think you had?
I couldn't put a number on it. At least a couple.
And ultimately you left from there in your personal vehicle and drove over to, that's the Jeep, drove
The Jeep,
over to the
yes.
Waterfall, correct?
I drove over to the Waterfall.
Can you pull up everyone's tabs?
I was at the
Left
Waterfall.
the Waterfall, drove over to 34th Fairview.
I did, yes.
When John walked in to the Waterfall, were you already there?
I know. I hate seeing pets in distress. I know. Because it's not like you can go to the I mean, you could if you wanted to, but it's like you go to the vet and like you kind of just want medication. But it's like, oh, but you should do x-rays just to make sure nothing's broken, nothing's fractured. It's like, okay. It's like, okay, well, we have the medications, but in order to give him medication, it's best practice to do blood work to make sure everything's all good before we give him the medication. It's like, okay. And then the bills just keep piling up, and piling up.
Yes.
This is how it
He
is.
medicated, correct?
Yes, I believe so.
Karen walked in with him.
Yes.
But she did not greet you, did she?
I think they kind of went like that in different directions.
Right.
Yes.
Did she greet you?
No.
Right. So she walked over toward the corner of the bar, and John came over and greeted you, and then walked over and joined her, correct?
Yes.
Karen didn't stop what she was doing when she was over in the corner of the bar and come over and say hi to you.
I didn't have any interaction with her that night,
So
no.
it's safe to say that throughout that evening, while she was sidled up next to John O'Keefe or friends that she was with, she never turned back around and came over and even acknowledged you, correct?
That's correct.
So she basically ignored you the entire evening.
That's not how I interpret it, no.
I didn't ask you how you interpreted it. I asked you what she did. Did she ignore you or did she pay attention to you?
Objection.
You can go ahead and answer that. Did she ignore you?
No.
So she paid attention to you. Came over and said hello, shook your hand, gave you a hug.
Well, just because somebody didn't come over doesn't mean they ignored you.
Did she do those three things?
Hug? What was the other
Say
thing?
hello, shake your hand, give you a hug?
No, she did not.
No, she didn't do any of those things, did she?
No.
It's like you didn't even exist.
I think that's dramatic. No, I don't look at it that way.
Did she ignore you or not?
No, she did not ignore me.
So what did she do to not ignore you?
She was
What interaction with you?
Can I answer now?
Sure.
She, in my opinion, she was working the room, talking to people, saying hello, catching up.
Right. The one person she did come over to talk to and say hello to and catch up with is you.
Well, I don't know that I was the only person, but I was one of the people that she didn't say hello to, yes.
Treated you sort of like a stranger.
I don't feel that way, no.
She actually positioned herself away from you at the other end of the table on the opposite side in the corner. Isn't that right?
I don't know where she was all night, no.
Did
I
that
don't know.
upset you that she ignored you or didn't pay attention to you?
I did not feel ignored and didn't upset me at all.
But it bothered you enough to send her a text, didn't it?
No, it was a flirtatious text. It was just, that was it.
It bothered you enough to send her a text that said, with 6 M's behind it.
Okay.
And, well, correct.
Well, it's probably because, you know, when he appeared there, her and John probably seemed like they were fine. They were still in a regular relationship. And she went back with John, or they drove together. They drove there together and they drove back together. So it's probably like, oh, okay, you're just fucking with me.
Well, it wasn't like that. It was, well, that's it.
Just, well, like a well in the ground.
I think you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think you do too, sir. You meant, well, when are you going to pay attention to me?
No, that's not correct.
Well, why are you ignoring me?
It's not correct.
Well, am I chopped liver?
Objection.
All right, that's sustained. Mr. Jackson, let's move on.
Oh, is that right?
There was discussion at the table of, like, were we going to go to the pizza shop or were we going to go somewhere else? And ultimately, it was 34 Fairview.
Before you left, just so we're clear, when you texted, well, she ignored that text too, didn't she?
Can you say that again?
When you texted her, well, at Waterfall, she ignored that text too, correct?
Well, that was the only text I sent that night to her, yes.
Okay.
She didn't respond.
That wasn't my question.
What-
My question is she ignored the text, correct?
Well, I don't know if I don't know what her mindset was. If she purposely ignored the text or she didn't see it, I don't know. I didn't read into it.
Did she ignore the text, Mr. Higgins?
I don't know.
Did she respond to the text?
She did not respond.
Got it. So when everybody was leaving, did you leave before they did, John and Karen, or did they leave before you did?
I don't know.
You said you were the first one back to Brian Albert's house, correct?
Yes.
Safe to say you were one of the first ones to leave.
I was the first one to leave
Waterfall.
the waterfall. Probably.
I mean, if if everybody's hurting out and you're the first one to get there, you're probably among the first to leave, correct?
Most likely.
Okay. You never personally discussed going to 34 Fairview with, certainly not with Karen Reed, did you?
No.
And you never discussed it with John O'Keefe either, did you?
No.
I think with everything that's going on right now, with the fence pointing fingers at him, the Albert family, who else is there? All the other people, law enforcement, whatever, paramedics. I think that's why he's like super defensive, because he doesn't want to admit to like small things because he's afraid it's going to amount to like slowly admitting to like bigger things towards the end. So he's trying to be super careful to not to admit to anything, which I think could sometimes backfire on you, because it could also look like, oh, well, why don't you just admit to small stuff? Like it doesn't look good if you're just going to say no to everything. Because I think he doesn't want to say that like, oh, she ignored me, because then it'll show that like, oh, I was mad that she ignored me. I was so mad that she ignored me that I took it out on John O'Keefe that night. You know what I mean? Like how it would slowly escalate like that. But I think it's okay to say yes to the small stuff. But I think he's just being really careful because he probably knows that maybe this defense attorney is a little bit sneaky, you know?
You didn't say goodbye or walk over and give John a big hug or anything like that?
No.
Acknowledgement, did you?
No.
You just left.
That's what everybody was doing, just leaving.
Okay. You too, correct?
I did leave, yes.
And all you knew that, at that point, all you knew was that you were going over to 34 Fairview. You did not know who else was invited over to 34 Fairview.
My impression
He was hoping Karen would be there.
was that it was an open invitation, and I planned on heading over there.
But you did not know who else was coming.
I had no idea who was coming.
And you didn't say goodbye to John, correct?
I don't think I said goodbye to anybody.
And you didn't talk to him about coming over to 34 Fairview.
No.
Yet at 2:20 in the morning, you texted John O'Keefe, you coming here, correct?
At 2:20,
He texted John at 2:20?
Sorry, 12:20.
I did.
And that had 3 question marks behind it, correct?
Yes.
Did you text Karen about coming over to 34 Fairview?
No.
So at 12:20 a.m., after you left the waterfall,
Ew, so snaky. He texts Karen and then he texts John afterwards, like, oh, so are you coming? Bring Karen, bring Karen.
and made your way over to 34 Fairview, you were more interested in getting John to come to 34 Fairview than you were to getting Karen to come to 34 Fairview.
No, that's not how I would describe that.
But you didn't text Karen, correct?
No, I didn't.
But you did text John.
Yes.
Yes, Aaron, I agree with that. I don't think well is flirty. I think it's more of like, well, ... I see you're just gonna ghost me now. Okay. Yeah. And it's like, well, it seems like you and John are fine. Okay.
You've indicated that you took your Jeep, your personal vehicle with the plow on it, over to 34 Fairview, correct?
Yes.
And you were among the first to arrive because you were doing that thing with the sort of playing around by plowing.
Yeah, I think he fucked up with that answer, but he probably just said it just like under the heat of the moment.
It was a sweep of the driveway, yes.
And then you indicated that you parked in front of the house, correct?
I did.
I know you've been over this before, but I'm going to ask you one final time so it's completely clear. Exactly where was your Jeep in front of that house?
By the mailbox.
Okay. Can we have, with court permission, exhibit 66?
Yes.
Do you recognize it?
And about around equal with the mailbox, and I was not blocking the driveway.
Okay, so you were within about there, correct? If the right edge of that highlight is the mailbox. Mailbox being right there. We've been about right there on the street, correct?
Well, that would have been the front of the Jeep. We a laser pointer is, it would be the front.
Okay. So the front of the Jeep was facing the flagpole.
Towards Chapman Street, correct.
And the rear of the Jeep was basically even with the mailbox strut or stanchion.
It was definitely past the driveway, yes.
Okay. You indicated the plow was a 6 foot, what inch plow?
I think it was a 6'8",
6 foot, meaning the width.
meaning the width, yes.
How deep is that plow?
Yeah, because I think she was trying to tell, sorry, I'm reading what Taxi's saying. I think she was trying to tell Higgins that, oh, you know, like, it's fine that I'm flirting with you. John's doing his own thing right now, you know, and I don't give a fuck. Like, I think she was also trying to play, like, cool girl. Like, oh, we can do whatever we want, you know, it's not like we're married. It's like, but you're still together.
How deep? Like,
2 feet, 3 feet, 6 inches?
I mean, it's probably a few inches.
Okay.
It's light duty. It's on a Jeep.
Okay. And it's obviously curved and
Curved.
canted to the right?
No, it wasn't canted at all. It was straight down.
Okay, so it's not like, I guess I'm picturing in my mind, I don't know that I've ever seen one, that the front of the Jeep is not parallel to the plow. In other words, it would plow stuff off to the right. Is that all right?
I'm not understanding what you're trying to communicate to me.
How is the plow positioned as it relates to the front end of the Jeep? Is it perfectly parallel to the front end, or is it canted one way or another?
So when you're driving straight locally, where you're not going to worry about overheating the Jeep, I would just have the Jeep plow straight. If I was on the highway for a long distance, I'd be worried about overheating, so I would canter the plow, tilt it up so that air could get through the front grille.
So in other words, you can control it.
I can, yes.
How was it that night?
So
How was it canted that night? Was it straight or canted?
it was straight and straight on.
All right. When you walked into 34 Fairview, you indicated that there were people congregated basically in the kitchen area, correct?
There were some people in the kitchen area, yes.
How many people were at the high top table that you described?
Initially, when I walked in, I believe there was Brian Jr., and he was flanked by one, possibly two females.
And you indicated that basically you were positioned in that area with your back to the door for most of the evening.
I was like I would describe this diagonally across from him and had my back to the door that I had come in, which would be the breezeway door.
But at some point, you had moved out of that kitchen area with Brian Albert, correct?
Well, I briefly went and looked at some photos.
Right.
I wonder how high his snowplow. How high can you raise it?
So you moved out of that area with Brian Albert alone to go to a different room.
Yes, and I think his wife Nicole might have popped in the room for a second, but it was brief.
Did you have anything to drink while you were at 34 Fairview?
Well, when I got there, they didn't have any whiskey. I believe they might have put a beer or something else in front of me, and I knew it was going to be a short night there because I just wasn't going to. I'm not a beer drinker.
You've indicated in a prior testimony that you've never been upstairs in Brian's house, correct?
Would you say upstairs, like you're talking like second floor?
Correct.
Yes. No.
Okay. You testified to that in a prior hearing. Is that right?
Yes.
In May of 2023.
Yes.
And you said specifically, quote, "I've never been upstairs." Is that
Yes.
right? All right. You understood when you gave that statement that you were under oath?
Yes.
You were telling the truth?
Yes.
Same oath that you took here today, correct?
Yes.
You indicated that the photos that you saw were on the first floor living room area. Is that right?
I believe that's where they were. Yes.
So the only
Brian Albert testified that I think it was upstairs or something in the son's room because they wanted to show that, like, oh, hey, like you used to be in the Marine and now my son is too or something like that.
floor downstairs from the first floor would be what?
The basement.
And the only floor upstairs from the basement would be what?
The first floor.
So if someone were to describe going upstairs to look at the photos that you've described on the first floor, where would they have to be to go upstairs to look at those photos?
Are you saying on the first floor?
Correct. If the photos are on the first floor,
Yeah.
and someone said, we went upstairs to look at those photos, where would they have to be?
I get upstairs.
The people would have to be upstairs?
Well, the photos would be upstairs. Is that what you're saying?
Where are the people? Where would the people have to be to go upstairs to the living room to look at the photos?
I'm not understanding the question.
If the photos are on the first floor, Mr. Higgins,
Yes.
the only floor beneath it is the basement,
Okay.
and someone says, we went upstairs to look at the photos, where would they have to be?
Well, who said they went upstairs?
All right, so Mr. Jackson, you can save this for argument. Next question, please.
Let's not forget Jen McCabe testified that John had a lot of girlfriends, but weren't they just like past girlfriends though?
If Brian Albert said you went upstairs to look at the photos, where would you have to be?
Objection.
Assisting.
Yeah, that's what Brian Albert said.
Now, Brian Albert had a weight room someplace in the house, right?
Yes.
And a gym.
I guess he called it a home gym.
Where was that?
In the basement.
Had you ever been down to that basement before?
Yes, one time.
When was that?
That was during the twins' graduation party. Summertime.
Summertime before?
Sometime before. Yes.
Summer of 2021?
Maybe.
So if Brian Albert testified that
Could
you've
it-
never been in the basement, that would not be accurate.
Objection.
Sustain.
Now, you do recall giving testimony in another proceeding on June 1st, 2023, correct?
Yes.
And of course, the same thing applied. You're under oath.
Hey, thank you so much, Board TV. Thank you so much for the tier 2, 71 months on Twitch. How are you? Hello.
Is that right?
Yes.
You believe it was a crime to lie under oath
Yes.
in that proceeding? During the course of that proceeding, you were asked who was in the house and who you saw come into the house, correct?
Yes.
And during the course of that testimony, you admitted that you observed a tall, dark-haired male enter the Albert house that night, correct?
I believe that was in reference to ask it to somebody's brother in a pickup. I don't know if that was during.
All I'm asking you, Mr. Higgins, is did you say that? Did you say a tall, dark-haired male entered the house while you were there?
I said they might have.
Did you say they might have?
Yes. And that was.
Where are we?
Did you say
I don't know.
you admitted that you observed a tall, dark-haired male enter the Albert house that night, correct?
Tall,
I believe that was in
dark-haired
reference to ask it to somebody's brother in a pickup. I don't know if that was during.
All I'm asking you, Mr. Higgins, is did you say that? Did you say a tall, dark-haired male entered the house while you were there?
I said they might have.
Did you say they might have?
Yes. And that was in reference to somebody's
Your
brother.
Honor.
Yes.
was thinking Julie Nagel's brother.
That a male showed up who may have been Julie Nagel's brother, correct?
I said might have, yes.
Right. But there was no question in your mind that a male did in fact show up, and you described him as tall and dark-haired, right?
Yes.
You were asked, a male showed up where? And you answered, quote, showed up at the house. That I didn't know. I think he was there very briefly. I was half paying attention to it. Question, did that male come inside the house? Answer, I believe he did. Do you remember that?
Yes.
So a male did come in the house that night, correct?
No, I said I believe he did. I wasn't sure.
Well, when you testified at the prior hearing, you were asked, so you saw someone else come? Question. Answer, somebody else. Yes. End quote. That's what you testified to under oath, wasn't it?
Is that in reference to that?
What page are you on, Mr. Jackson?
Page. You answered, I believe you did. Question, so you saw someone else come? Answer, somebody else. Yes. Correct?
Yes, but I also said that I wasn't paying attention.
I realize that you want to explain your answer. I've asked you a very simple question. Is that your testimony in front of another proceeding?
Yes, it was.
At another proceeding, which you were under oath?
Yes, it was.
Okay. You also said that you only remember seeing that person come in briefly.
I wonder if the jury's just confused at this point. How many other proceedings were there?
And it looked like he was having a conversation with the two girls, briefly, correct?
Yes.
You were asked how long was the person in there roughly, and you said it was quick. Less than a couple of minutes. I mean, it was quick, correct?
Yes.
And then you were asked what he looked like, and you said, I feel like they were a little bit taller, and he had dark hair, correct?
Yes.
So you testified that a tall, dark-haired male came into the house, at least briefly, in your testimony, correct?
Yes.
Approximately when in the timeline of events did that unidentified male enter the residence?
I don't know the time frame. It would have been while I was there.
When you gave your statement to the Massachusetts State
drunk was
Police, you didn't tell them about a tall, dark-haired male coming into the residence at 34 Fairview, did you, on February 3rd?
I don't recall.
You were specifically asked by ADA Lally, when you testified before the state court grand jury on April 28, 2022, who else was present, correct?
Yes.
And you never mentioned a tall, dark-haired male coming into the house, did you?
No.
However, on June 1st, 2023, at this other proceeding, you were specifically instructed at the start of your testimony that it was a crime to give materially false statements in that proceeding, correct?
Yes.
And that's the proceeding in which you admitted that there was a tall, dark-haired male who came in the house.
I
Yes
said
or no? Yes or no? Is that proceeding?
Can you answer that, yes or no?
No, I can't, Your Honor.
Next question, Mr. Jackson.
Like, I wonder if he was just confused or what. Like, why would he introduce a tall, dark male coming to the house if they're trying to cover up something? I don't know. I'm
The
confused.
quotations that or the quotes that I just read you and that you just looked at,
Yes.
that was from the June 1, 2023 hearing, wasn't it?
I don't know.
It was just read, and that's another page, sir.
June 1st?
2023?
Yes.
How long did you stay at the Albert
But
residence?
how would that benefit him to say that like a tall, dark male came to the house? How would that benefit him in any way if he was lying about it?
In total, from the time you got there till the time you left.
Maybe like a half hour. Less than an hour.
And what time did you leave? Say 12:30, you said?
I think I said between 12:30 and 1 a.m.
Hey, Air Zones. Actually, so on my stream, I also have this cog as well. You can slow it down to like 0.75, or you might be able to. Oh, you can customize it actually. What? You? I didn't know. Oh, you can customize it. Yeah, you can customize it, so you can slow it down on your end.
And you indicated that you pretty much didn't say goodbye to anybody, right?
At the house?
Correct.
I just kind of left. I said, see you later. Turn around, left.
As a matter of fact, at that same hearing,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's like, let's say that he was trying to be like, okay, I'm going to tell the truth now and say Colin Albert was there. But it's like, you spent, what, like a year and a half trying to cover for Colin Albert, allegedly. But then now he's going to say a tall, dark male actually came in, but then not say it's Colin Albert. I don't know. I'm just like, was he confused? Like, what's going on? Was he drunk? Like,
that we just looked at, your statement was, I made a beeline out of it, correct?
I don't know if that's the verbiage I used, but I left.
Why the rush? Why did you leave so quick?
Because it was a long day and I just wanted to go home.
Except you didn't go home, did you?
No, I went back to Canton PD.
Right. So it wasn't such a long day that you actually drove home. You went back.
the geofence. Hold on. That's his way of not incriminating himself when the geofence places John in the house. So so you're trying to say that like he is saying that, oh, maybe John did come into the house when everyone else said he never came into the house? I feel like they would all get their story straight about that at least.
To the Canton Police Department at 1 or 1:30 in the morning, correct?
To move vehicles, correct.
Right, and then also he knows John. John is like his friend. I don't know about good friend, but John's his friend. Like, I don't know why he would say, oh, a tall, dark male came to the house and spoke to 2 females. Or just be like, oh, John came in the house and spoke to 2 women.
Well, let's talk about you leaving. You walked out the side breezeway door, correct?
Yes.
You walked down the driveway.
Yes.
There's nothing obstructing your view at that point of the lawn to your right, correct?
I didn't look over there, but I would not think so.
Between you and the flagpole, in other words, there wasn't some mound of dirt, something obstructing your view. You could see straight across if you wanted to, correct?
If I wanted to, yes.
It's just basically a flat, grassy lawn with a light dusting of white powder snow on it, right?
I don't know how much snow was, but there was snow there.
Yeah, you indicated that it wasn't even enough to stick to the pavement at that point.
Well, that's when I got there. Yes.
Well, you only stayed less than an hour, right?
That's correct.
So I'm assuming it didn't dump 3 feet in an hour, correct?
I think we can both agree that it's
Sarah! Hi, Sarah. How are you doing today? Okay, that should sound like normal speed.
not 3, wouldn't have been 3 feet now.
Right. So it would have been a light dusting of snow.
More snow than there was there.
How far would you say it was from the edge of the driveway over to your Jeep?
From where the back of my Jeep was parked,
Correct.
maybe a foot or two, or it could have been even with the edge of the driveway.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's probably a bad question on my part. When you left the house, as you started to walk down the driveway toward your Jeep, how long of a walk is that? Across the yard, down the...
God, I wish we could get our hands on the transcripts from the federal grand jury. I wish. But all the grand juries say, we cannot see it.
Right. To get to your Jeep.
Short,
30 feet?
maybe.
Okay. During the course of you walking out the door, heading to your Jeep, you didn't see anything out of the ordinary in the yard, correct?
No,
You certainly didn't see a body in the yard.
of course not.
Now, you get in your car, and it's facing directly toward the flagpole, correct?
It's facing directly up the street. The flagpole would be off to the 1 o'clock.
Right. So just a few degrees off to the right, the flagpole is, correct?
It's off to the right.
Just a few degrees.
I don't know how many degrees, but it's off to the right.
Well, you just said 1 o'clock. You're
Yes.
a former military guy, right?
I am.
Okay. 1 o'clock means 1 o'clock on a watch. 12 o'clock is due north or right in front of you. 1 o'clock is just a few degrees to the right, correct? That's what you meant.
At the 1 o'clock, yes.
Okay. So you didn't see a body when you got in your Jeep.
No, I did not.
Then you turned the engine on, correct?
And the wipers, yes.
And the lights.
Yes.
And the lights lit up everything in front of you, correct?
Yes.
Still didn't see a body, did you?
No, I did not.
Sitting in the driver's seat, you put the car in gear and you begin to roll forward, right?
Yes.
But there was a plow on the ground that scraped for a foot, right?
Yes.
So you picked it back up,
Yes.
looked out the windshield to make sure the plow was situated, and continued to roll forward, correct?
I knew it was up when I continued to drive.
And as you continue to drive, you're looking ahead of you and probably to your left to make sure that there's no oncoming cars, right?
Well, I knew there was no oncoming cars. I was just driving forward.
Right. So your focus is directly in front of you.
On the road, yes.
And everything in your peripheral vision is right in front of you as well, correct?
Yes.
Nothing obstructing your view.
I mean, other than snow on the car.
Nothing obstructing your view outside toward the lawn. Wasn't another car parked there.
No, I didn't. There was no vehicles in front of me, no.
It was the roadway was relatively empty.
There was no cars.
And you didn't see a body then either, did you?
I did not.
And as you drive past that flagpole with everything lit up and everything in your peripheral vision,
Well, the people that didn't remember seeing the Jeep, they weren't like weren't interviewed until September, right? I'm trying to remember when they got interviewed. Remember, there was Julie Nagel, and then there was Sarah Levinson, and then there were like 3 people that came up in the car with Julie Nagel's brother. Weren't like a bunch of them interviewed like months later? And by that time, I wouldn't remember a Jeep either. Like if it happened in January and then they were questioned about it in like September or something like that, like 9 months later, they waited so long to question them. But there was one person that was questioned earlier than others. I forgot who it was though. God, this is like such a mess. It's like hard to remember all the freaking details.
you still didn't see a body on that lawn, did you?
I did not.
You're a former firefighter, is that right?
Yes.
That puts you in a position of being a first responder.
Yes.
And you're currently a law enforcement officer.
Yes.
That puts you in the position of being a first responder, correct?
I'm also a tactical medic, yes.
Which means that you have training to be an observer. You're a trained observer, more than the average person, correct?
Yes.
You look for things out of the ordinary. You look for things that don't belong. As an investigator and former firefighter, first responder, correct?
Yes.
And you did not see a 217-pound man bleeding out on the side of the road, in the lawn, or in the yard, just to your right by that flagpole, correct?
If I did,
I
would
didn't
have done something to help him.
I asked you if you saw one.
No, I did not.
One of the prosecutors, or sorry, not the prosecutors, one of the defense attorneys did do that though. Like, oh, do you have a problem with your memory? I forgot which one it was. It totally was Juan Martinez moment. 9 months later, I wouldn't remember a Jeep. Even if it had a plow on it, I would not remember. If it was like a couple days later, yes. A week later, questionable.
And that's because there was no body there, correct?
I didn't see anything.
Because if there was a body there, you certainly would have seen that.
Objection.
Where exactly did you go when you left 34 Fairview?
I went back to the Canton Police Station.
When you were asked that on direct examination, you said you weren't sure where you went when you left 34 Fairview, either home or Canton PD.
No, that's not what I testified to.
Did something jog your memory
That
about
is-
where you went?
That is not what I testified to. That was in relation to where did I go after I left 34 Fairview the next morning.
Why did you go to Canton Police Department that morning?
What's the question?
Why did you
Yeah,
go?
Jody didn't stand a chance against Juan Martinez. But someone like Jody, you need a Juan Martinez, though. Someone like Jody, okay? She is like master manipulator. She like tries to dances around in circles. She plays like the cutesy game. Now you need a Juan Martinez to go against that person. Didn't she testify for how many? Didn't she testify for like 2 weeks or something like that? Like I don't know. It was like on and on and on. It was fucking crazy.
Go to the Canton Police Department that morning?
The morning when I left 34 Fairview, the Friday into Saturday,
Correct.
to move 2 vehicles.
There's been quite an evolution of that story over the years, has there not?
I don't understand the question.
All right, let's talk about that for a second. You had an initial interview with Massachusetts State Police on February 3rd, 2022.
Yes.
Correct? And you indicated during the course of that interview, which was just a couple of days, 5 days after the events in question, that you left Brian Albert's house, went to Canton PD to, quote, fulfill some administrative obligations, end quote, correct? You later said, when you testified in front of the grand jury on April 28th, that you went to Canton PD to do, quote, administrative work, correct?
Yes.
You never mentioned,
I said administrative things.
you said administrative work was your testimony in your transcript.
I believe it was things, but okay.
Okay. Can we agree, Mr. Higgins, that you didn't mention anything about moving cars around, correct?
Well, that would be administrative.
So when you say I went to Canton PD to do administrative work or administrative obligations, you meant moving your car, your personal vehicle?
Yes.
Okay. Although you didn't say that you were going there to move your personal vehicle, right?
No, I said I didn't move my personal vehicle. I moved work vehicles.
Or either one. You just traded off vehicles, moved them out of the way, right?
I moved the purpose for going back there was to move 2 work vehicles.
And the reality is you had gotten Canton PD earlier in the afternoon and actually moved.
Yeah, because I feel like, okay, sorry. If you were to tell people why you went back to the police department, you would just say, oh, I went back to move my car. Not, I went to go do administrative. I don't know. That seems like a really weird way to say it. Why say administrative stuff? Why not just say like, oh, I went to move cars?
Some other vehicles, traded vehicles, didn't
Maybe
you?
it sounds
I
better.
swapped vehicles out. That's correct.
Right. And you left the vehicles that you now.
Well, based on Mr. Lawley's opening statement, it seems like he's going to call Mr. Proctor to come up and testify. Because he says, you'll hear from Michael Proctor, lead investigator.
Claim you had to go move exactly where they were, even though you knew a blizzard was coming, correct?
That is correct. Yes.
So you didn't move the cars a few hours earlier, knowing that you just have to come back and move those cars a few hours later.
I got it. Mr. Lawley's opening statements. I re-listened to it.
Of Fairview Road prior to going to Mrs. McCabe's house where she meets Mrs. McCabe and Ms. Roberts. Now, again, you'll hear testimony from a number of different troopers who were involved in the investigation. With regard to this case, you'll hear from Trooper Michael Proctor and Sergeant.
Right? It sounds like he's going to call Michael Proctor, or maybe he's not going to call Michael Proctor and he's going to have the defense call Michael Proctor. But it seems like I think he's going to call Michael Proctor. Oh, Mr. Lawley saying that with such lack of enthusiasm. You'll hear from Michael Proctor, yeah, lead investigator.
I was more concerned to go eat and have a drink because it had been a long day.
So wouldn't you want to move those cars early on so you wouldn't have to go all the way back to Canton and play parking lot with these cars in the middle of the night?
Not really.
Mr. Higgins, you weren't actually at Canton PD to do administrative work at 1:30 in the morning, were you?
I was moving the vehicles. I'm sure it's on video.
Oh, can we get the videos? Probably not.
We'll talk about the video in just a second.
They probably don't keep the storage for that long. Usually it's like, what, 1 week, a month, maybe a couple weeks, couple months. I don't know. But like, when was the fingers being pointed at the Alberts and him?
You entered the Canton police station through which door?
I believe it was the door to the right of the Sally Port as you come in the main entrance.
And you made note of who was on duty that night, correct?
I didn't make note. I walked by, I saw somebody sitting in the control room, and then just went about my business.
So you immediately knew that your friend, Officer Good, was working dispatch, right?
So do you need to hear something or? Really hot over there?
You mean someone had Final Cut Pro and chopped up the videos?
So why don't we take a 5-minute?
What? Why are we taking a 5-minute break? No breaks allowed. No breaks allowed. No breaks allowed. No breaks allowed. Okay, fine. You can have your break. Stupid fan.
Thank you. Hey, let's bring Mr. Higgins back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, wait, no, I have to go. Damn it, I have to go, guys. This is getting so good. We'll finish cross-examination tomorrow. I'm going to stream tomorrow. Is tomorrow a holiday or anything like that? Sunday, June 2. June 2. I'm going to try to start earlier. I had people come over to clean some stuff. Oh my God. They came over at 6:30 a.m. I was like dead. I was so dead. Okay, let's finish the rest tomorrow. I have to go. I have to go to a birthday party. I thought the birthday party was tomorrow, but I found out she gave me the wrong date. So I know. I'm sorry. I'm hanging too because I haven't seen this yet. Everything I'm watching is new and fresh with you guys. I haven't seen this yet, so I don't know where this is going. But someone says something about videos being sliced. Oh boy. There's court tomorrow. Yeah, guys. No, we have court Sunday. We have court Sunday. We have court on Sunday, but it is Sunday though. You know, if you guys work Monday to Fridays, enjoy your weekend, okay? Yeah, I have to go. I'm sorry. I hope you guys have a good one. Take care. I hope you guys have a great day. I don't know what am I trying to say. I'm sorry I didn't stream this week. So this week we went to Chicago, which was fun. I did a little rant about some of the people that we ran into in Chicago, but other than that, it was great. Food was delicious. It was like on par with LA. It was really amazing. And then, I had my flooring done. I thought I could stream, but it was too loud. It was like way too loud. There's no way I could have streamed with the flooring done. And then I thought they would be, I don't know, they did it pretty quick though. I don't know what I was thinking. Because I was like, okay, this week is going to be quiet. They're only going to do half day court on Tuesday, so I just not stream. But then I didn't keep track of my schedule, and Coburger had their stuff going on this week, which was pretty important. And then we had the verdict for Chad Daybell. So I was like, ooh, I kind of missed some important stuff this week. Shit. Anyways, guys, I hope you guys have a good one. Take care. I will see you guys tomorrow. I'm going to stream the rest of the cross-examination and then whatever happens on Tuesday. Tuesday is a half day, so we should probably get through this pretty quickly. Like, look at this, guys. We've only been streaming for, what, 2-3 hours? We're 6 hours in. Magical. Look at this. Oh, this is why I love streaming in the future. Moondog Store. But for Twitch people, I might try to stream tonight if I have time. Depends. Oh, no, I should work out today, though. Hey, I should work out. All right, y'all. I hope you guys have a good one. Take care. Thank you so much. I'm sorry I had to leave like this, but I'll see you later.